big
No worries, we restart. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and restart. See, it's kind of a thing around here on the show because the show was never supposed to actually happen. That I fuck up every intro to the show. So it's kind of a rolling joke here, right? So don't be offended by that. It literally happens all the time. But like I was saying, everybody, welcome back to another live episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here in the Smokin' Studios. And as you can see, I have a guest with me in studios. He's a better looking guy than me. He's bigger than me, and we're gonna find out what he does here in a little bit. But some quick little show information here. Again, thank you to everybody that watches the show. Thank you to all the sponsors that support the show. We've got some breaking news tonight on the show, and we're probably going to start with that. But before we do, if you guys are out there watching, go ahead and post what it is you're smoking tonight, and we're going to start the show off the right way this time because I always fuck this up. I always miss it. So we're going to start the show off with the What Are You Smoking Tonight segment. All right, now this is going to be all me talking here. We're going to introduce Nate here in a second. Just getting this out of the way because we started a little bit later due to me having some technical difficulties here. So we are smoking tonight for the first time for Nate, but this is the Stillwell Star Bayou blend. Now, this is from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Thank you so much, Steve, for sponsoring the segment. Steve doesn't make the cigar anymore. It is a pipe tobacco in the center cigar with there's a preak in there. Very, very good cigar. If you guys can find them on the shelf in any way, shape, or form still, do yourself a favor, buy a 5-pack or buy the whole fucking box because you're not getting them anymore at all. We got Brent showing up here with the Red Meat Lovers Porterhouse. Fantastic, fantastic. So, all right, now we're going to introduce the guest of the night. I will hand it over to you, Nate. Tell us who you are.
Yeah.
And then we'll kick it off with some breaking news.
Well,
but introduce yourself first.
First, thanks for having me, Ryan. I appreciate being on your show.
Yeah,
I've been looking forward to this as we talked before. My name is Nate Winegar. I am a native of Colorado, and I also spend a significant amount of time in Kentucky. Is one of the reasons I'm here today. I am a big whiskey, I guess if you want to call it aficionado, but more so I just like to drink whiskey and smoke cigars too, so this seemed like the perfect place to hang out tonight. So I've been in the whiskey game for about probably 16 years now. Got involved a long time ago before things got real crazy in the whiskey world, in the bourbon world specifically. And I'm the founder of 5280 Whiskey Society that some of you may have heard about before. It's a whiskey society. We're coming in on our 10th anniversary of that group, and it's been great. Through that, we've had a lot of whiskey fellowship and brought in some of the biggest names in whiskey for education. And,
now, real quick though, you said Whiskey Society, so are you saying this is a private club or is this a Facebook page?
Yeah, it's an actual private club that has had we cap it at 300 members.
Okay.
We have usually a wait list. We've had back at one time when whiskey was going crazy, we had about 1,000 people on the wait list, but we cap it at 300 to keep that connectivity, intimacy between the members, and to really kind of have control of that group. And we show out for events. We usually have about 100, 150 people show up for our events, members, and then we bring in some of the biggest names in whiskey, master distillers from all the big heritage brands and global ambassadors, and really kind of teach people about whiskey and grow their level of knowledge, but also get to taste some really good stuff. So that is one component where I'm at in the whiskey world. And then about 3.5 years ago, some friends and I got together and we decided that we were going to start a whiskey brand. And my partners, Matt Dankner, who's also a partner of 5280 Whiskey with me, and then Royce Neely, who's the master distiller at Neely Family Distillery in Sparta, Kentucky. Pretty well-known master distiller, one of the biggest up-and-coming master distillers in Kentucky. He has a distillery there on the Bourbon Trail, and it's an 11th generation moonshine family, and he's got a history of his own. I definitely want you to talk to this gentleman at some point.
Yes, no, we're going to have him on.
I'm sure your crowd will absolutely love hearing the stories he has. Some real deal Eastern Kentucky moonshine stories. And then Jackie Zykan, who was formerly with Old Forester, came over and joined us as our master blender. Yeah, it was a group of friends. We started the brand. It's taken off. It's very difficult to start any business, as you know. You might as well just kick yourself in the head every week. But
you kind of, you and like the tobacco world, you guys start with a kind of a governmental chip on your shoulder, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of regulations, and just like in both, I would say, right? But there's a heck of a lot of regulations in the alcohol industry. And but yeah, it's grown. We're in 20 states now physically, and then online in about another 22 states. So we'll continue to grow at a conservative rate. And but yeah, I brought some of that to share with you tonight. Some of our small batch bourbon here, Kentucky straight bourbon, the one that we're actually sipping on tonight, and we can show later. We'll get into it later. But
really good.
But we were very fortunate to win Small Batch Whiskey of the Year last year in San Fran Spirits, which is kind of the Oscars of the spirits world.
Sure,
so, yeah.
and that's a huge feat because you're battling almost kind of a countless amount of people out there, right? It's my guess is maybe not as prevalent of like crazy copious amounts of yearly startups in the alcohol world.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a ton every year that try to exist. And then you're fighting the quote unquote legacy brands, if you want to throw those in.
Sure.
So for a company, and I'm going to say it, for a smaller brand like you to turn around, throw something like this out. Now, this is the bottle that we are drinking on tonight. And since we're starting with it, let's just go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
Tell everybody, again, why this bottle is special. And yeah.
Absolutely. So it is called Hidden Barn Whiskey. And this is a bourbon. So at least 51% corn. The actual mash bill is 70% corn, 20% rye, 10% malted barley to make that. So it is a Kentucky straight bourbon. It's aged about 5 years. We're just under 5 years on this one. Some of our stuff coming out now is between that 6 and 7, and you're really seeing how the new American oak kind of plays into it.
Sure.
But this one is pot stilled versus column stilled, which is a different way of more of the older style of how to distill whiskey. Column still, you've got the huge column.
Yeah, I was just saying, explain that.
Yeah, and you're going to bring the temperatures up, and what you're trying to do is really clear out everything and heating that up to higher temperatures as it goes through these plates and kind of comes back down. In a pot still, you're just cooking it. It looks like a big onion sometimes, or like a big copper pot, and it cooks in there. And we do double and triple pot still, and when you do that, you're not cooking at as high a temperatures, so you're not burning off a lot of different things, and so you retain a lot of the flavors, sometimes from the grain and some of the different things. It creates a very kind of robust and a lot of viscosity coating your mouth when you drink it, versus more when you sometimes have column still. It's a little bit thinner sometimes on the mouthfeel, and sometimes you'll get more influence on a column still. Not one or the other is better, I would say, than the other. I like pot still whiskey. I think it also goes really well with cigar, with those flavors. It matches up. But I think that it just depends on where you're gaining your flavor from. And column still, a lot of times you're gaining a lot of your flavor from the oak barrels as it's aging there. And they're aging and they're gaining the sugars through that wood and penetrating that wood. with a pot still, you're already coming out with a lot of flavors right from the new make, and then when it goes into that wood, it's just enhancing it and really creating a nice balance from some of those vanillas and caramel, along with some of the notes that you're getting just off the still. So, yeah,
it's such an in-depth we've all watched probably like the Taco Bell equivalent of Mexican food for this is moonshiners, right?
yeah,
It's the fly-by-night version.
yeah,
That's not real. It's real enough for you to get in trouble and blow yourself up with whatever they're doing if you try to do it yourself, probably.
yeah.
But just fake enough where they're filming it with a crew and not going to get in trouble. So what? And I say that because what they're using is because they're just distilling water, of course. What they're using is a pot still, correct?
Yeah,
With
well,
the worm,
yes,
the thumper.
yes. When you're seeing that
And then
moonshine,
they put on
yes.
the raccoon dick in
And,
the end.
and here's the thing with that. So our master distiller Royce Neely was on that show, and if you wanna have him blow a gasket, just ask him about that experience. Yeah, it's definitely made for TV. Now, don't get me wrong, moonshining is real, and if you run into real moonshiners and survive, you're lucky if you're out in the wilderness.
Oh yeah,
Because it is serious business, and it is a real art form. And when you taste real moonshine, not some of the stuff you see on the shelves here that kind of mass produced by bigger conglomerates, but when you actually taste real moonshine, it's some of the best spirits out there. There's some incredible spirits out there with people that are doing this in the backwoods still, and have been doing it for generations and generations. And I have a lot of respect. Our master distiller, Royce Neely, his family, 11 generations, man. And, you know, they would teach down from family to family generations. And it's very territorial. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of murders and deaths in that, because you think of like Hatfield McCoys, you think of that area, that's where they were at, in that area with all those whiskey wars that were going on between different families, because it's territorial. And the other thing about it is back in the day, you couldn't go to Total Wine or Davidson's or one of these places and get your whiskey or spirits, right? So you had to have a source somewhere in your county typically, and that's who you would go to. So yeah, definitely the Moonshiner show, although there's some people on there that are legit, yeah, the process is definitely made for TV, I'm sure.
100%.
So yeah, by the way, I see a couple people on there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
yeah, I see Jason on there. Hey Jason, man, good to see you on there. So
are you available in West Virginia?
I saw that, not in West Virginia yet. You may be able to order it through Sealbox or one of our online. I would check Neely Family Distillery to see if we do ship there. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I see Ty on here too. What's up, Ty? Yeah, it on the East Coast, we're in New York, New Jersey, Georgia, getting ready to potentially Carolinas, looking at Florida, but that's kind of where we're at over there on the East Coast. DC, you can get stuff shipped in there. It's kind of a unique place, but mainly on the Eastern Coast, that's where we're at right now.
So I want to get back to this bottle here, because this bottle was an award winner.
Yeah.
This bottle was a life's work put in a bottle and winner. What did that mean for you at Hidden? What did that mean for Hidden Barn as a company?
Yeah.
To come out, how many? First off, it's not like you were against just one other whiskey. How many were you against? So let's start with the line. Let's get the baseline.
It's the biggest category in the San Francisco Spirits Awards, small batch bourbon. I would say hundreds of brands that enter that. All the big boys were in there. Now we won a category of 5 years and under, because that's what we had. We had 5 years and under. Heaven Hell, who's a great brand. I love Heaven Hell. They won the category for over. They put out a lot of older whiskey. They've been around just a little bit longer than us. A little bit more established. But yeah, it was an incredible feeling. I can't take credit. I didn't make the whiskey. I didn't blend the whiskey. That was Jackie Zykan, and Royce made the whiskey. I helped design the bottle label, if that helped at all. But other than that, I always say I'm just the good-looking one, which is a lie too, because those two others are much better looking than me too. But I definitely just being a part of creating something and creating a brand, and then being up on stage and having that was a really big moment. It was kind of cool to see it from ground zero, where it started as just an idea right around COVID, when we were thinking of going a different direction with maybe a brick and mortar with 5280 and a bar, and kind of like Jack Rose, like kind of that kind of situation. Instead, decided to go this route, and to see it come to fruition and then to be recognized, it was great. And it's not an easy road by any means. And you know, you have when you're starting out, you're putting out younger whiskey, and you have there's trolls out there, of course, and everything you do that, you know, some people like it, some people don't. The way I always look at whiskey is that there's a whiskey out there for everybody. There is so much whiskey. You talked about that earlier, about the amount. There are a ton of brands that are created every year. Now, I do think that's going to start falling off here a little bit, just the way it is in the whiskey world right now. But there are a ton of brands out there, and really good whiskey, and people making good whiskey, especially in the craft distillery. That's caught up in age statement, a lot of them, to some of the heritage brands that have been around for a while. And so that's really, you have choices. So if one doesn't hit my palate, you might think it's the greatest ever. I might say, you know what, this is just isn't for my palate. And I may like something that you don't. And that's the cool thing about it is, even though bourbon has to be at least 51% corn, there's very strict guidelines around it. New American oak.
3-year age.
Well, that's straight. It has to be at least 2 years for straight bourbon, right?
Yeah.
But just it can be aged one day in a new white oak American barrel to be bourbon.
Probably wouldn't take much color.
No. I don't know. I mean, I know there's been some. Yeah, right. I mean, really, you just got white dog, right? White dog in a barrel. There's all kinds of things though that you see out there. People are putting like staves, or I mean, even just down the road here, 291 puts Aston staves, and they have smaller barrels too. We do 53-gallon barrels, so
like
we have
20 gallon.
Yeah, we have the full size, but some people do smaller size barrels. I mean, all you're really trying to do is get liquid to wood, and get it above that 60 degrees, so it starts getting really active, and you want it to start working into that oak. And start pulling in some of those sugars and some of those flavors out of there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, it's always interesting to me. It's kind of like a lung, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, a lung breathes in, breathes out. A barrel, literally at above 60 degrees, breathes in, and then you move it around the warehouse, and then it breathes out, and you move it. You keep moving it, and every time you move it with the temperature, it's literally forcing that liquid into that wood, drawing out the vanillas, the sugars from it.
Yeah.
Why the virgin oak? Why, like, before we get into the big news of the night, but why the virgin oak? Why not reuse them?
Sure.
That costs a ton, and I know barrels are being used like crazy right now, and the oak's costing a ton more.
Yeah.
So why not reuse? Why the regulation with that? Why does that?
So it's a good question, right? So Scotch,
they use the shit out of them over and over and over and over.
Wine, Scotch, tequila.
Yeah.
Most spirits are actually used bourbon barrels. So a lot of the bourbon barrels that are used actually get sent to Mexico, actually get sent out to be used there. The new white American oak, what I like about it is it's kind of like that first time it's getting worked into that wood, you're getting kind of the most out of it. I think as you continue to work through a used barrel or whatnot, you're losing some of the stuff out of that wood. It's been pulled out and whatnot. So you can re-char a barrel, you can toast a barrel again, and try and get more out of that wood. But the new American oak, to me, is what makes bourbon unique and special and gives it that flavor profile, especially that sweet caramel vanilla that you get in a lot of bourbon. And you don't, I think for the product, and there are plenty of oak trees out there too. I know some people are like, oh my God, like there's not going to be any oak trees.
I just was reading something a couple weeks back about a potential shortage in
the
cask
shortage.
barrels.
The shortage is not the oak trees. The shortage is the lumberjacks. The shortage is the sawmills that actually do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
because
the
the guy
actual
was
shortage.
saying that
Yeah.
oak takes so long to grow, and which it does, but
That's true, but there's plenty of oak out there in the United States.
oh, of course,
Yeah,
yeah.
but the thing is, it's actually about the production of it once you get it, and that's where it's been a problem is, especially around COVID, there was a shortage in barrels because they just didn't have the sawmills going. The other thing about these barrels is it's just not you're not just taking, they call them staves, right? So they're individual staves that come together that form that barrel. And then when the moisture hits, it swells that wood, and that's what seals it. There's no sealing on a barrel. It's just
No glue.
the pressure and none of that. Yeah. But what you do is it's called seasoning, and it's not putting pepper and salt on the wood and shit like that. It is, you actually lay the staves out in a yard, out in the open air, and you let them sit for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4. And when you do that, that sun and weather takes those tannins out, those bitter tannins, starts to work them out of the wood. So we use only 2-year seasoned air oak. It's more expensive. It's more expensive to do, but it creates definitely a higher higher quality barrel to use. And a lot of these brands with their more higher allocated lines will use older staved barrels, but also like your Jack Daniels, your like Old Number 7, maybe your Jim Beam White Label. Like they're not gonna invest in 2-year seasoned oak on those. That might be a 6-year seasoned oak that they're using those for. And it's just because that's a different. It's not an ultra premium whiskey, but most of your premium, ultra premium whiskeys are going to have a barrel that's really quality, that's going to have seasoned staves in it.
So okay, I'm not super. I drink a lot of it as often as I can, but I'm not super knowledgeable. I had no idea that there was. I knew there's different qualities of like oak, and I figured to an extent how the board looks. Maybe if there's tons of knots in it, I don't know if that affects it in any way. But I had no idea that the aging of it and how it's aged and kept outside, and the longer it's aged. So, but it's not kiln drying.
No,
because that you would lose 50% of that alcohol.
Just right out. No, just the barrels before they're put together. They're just on racks out there, and they're just getting aged, and the weather is just taking those tannins out. When they're put together, there's a couple things that happen. You can either char a barrel. And a lot of people have different chars, right? There's like a 1 char, 2, 3. Some people call it alligator char. There's really not a official scale of like, oh, that's a 4 char. Like it's bullshit, right? It's like, okay, well, we do a char number 2, but your char number 2 might be our char number 4. But it's really about how long you're putting that barrel fire going through it and burning out that inside, and that's really like caramelizing the wood and kind of creating a surface for that whiskey to work. But also there's toasting barrels where they just sit there and they toast that barrel. It's like a toaster, and it does the same thing. It kind of coats and puts a cake like you would on a toast inside
like an
that barrel.
Infrared pipe is in there?
Yeah, kind of like that. Up? Yeah, just heats it up and toasts that inside, and that creates its own.
So it doesn't catch fire.
Doesn't catch fire.
It just smolders more.
It does catch fire when you char it.
Yeah, but right. I'm saying for the toasting.
Toast, nope. It just is a nice subtle toast over a period of time, and it will toast that inside of that barrel.
Is it a different flavor profile then?
It can be, absolutely. It absolutely can be. And sometimes what you're seeing now, because they're starting to do a lot of different things in the whiskey world, but what you're seeing now is you're seeing maybe a double oaked. You'll hear of like the double oaked. The term that Woodford has a double oaked, or somebody, Heaven Hell has a double oaked, right? A toasted. Heaven Hell has a very good product, a toasted barrel out there. So what it is they aged it originally in that charred New American oak, and then they aged it a second time in new toasted oak, and you're getting different flavor profiles. You're also going into new wood again, which is creating some of that interaction. You mentioned this before. You talked about how in rick houses, that's where the barrels are stored, mainly that people like kind of rotate around and different things. They don't do that as much anymore because there's so many barrels, especially there's more barrels than people in Kentucky. That's a fact. Like a lot more barrels of whiskey than people in Kentucky. And they're, you know, and they don't move them around as much anymore because it's just a huge overtaking, right, with the amount they have out there. But what they do is you have Some rick houses are 5 floors. Some rick houses are 7 floors. It really matters where that barrel is aging and what floor. And also in the rick house, where? In this corner over here. Maybe there's a window and there's some airflow that comes through there. The temperature between the bottom of a floor in a rick house and the top in the summertime can be up to 70 degrees difference. So
Wow.
it can be hugely different. Now there's another term that I'll say, it's called angel share.
Mm-hmm.
And angel share is the evaporation of the liquid inside the barrel. We call that angel share. A barrel that is aging on the 7th floor versus a barrel that's aging on the 1st floor is going to have a lot less angel share, because it's not getting heated up, it's not going to the wood, it's not working the same temperatures as it is. So a lot of your, I know everybody likes Buffalo Trace. I'll mention it one time, but let's say like the BTAC collection and Buffalo Trace. Those are going to be aging on the lower floors because they're getting to like 15 year, 12, 7, 18, depending on which offering it is. Those are aging on lower floors because if you put that on the 7th floor, by the time you open that barrel, it would be dust.
Yeah.
There's just nothing left. And most of your single barrels that we pick and select with 5280, that's something that we do too as well, are usually around that 4th, 5th floor. Usually is a pretty good barrel range for like that 7 to 9 year bourbon. So, but it depends from rick house to rick house. I mean, you got Four Roses that has 1-story rick houses, so they only have 7 shelves. They don't even go beyond 1 story. And then you have like Deetsville at Heaven Hill that have 7, and it looks like a kind of old schoolhouse, these huge rick houses. Yeah, each one of those floors ages the whiskey different. The other crazy thing I'll blow your mind is you can distill whiskey on the same day, put it into 2 barrels on the same time, put it right next to each other in a rick house, and have them come out completely different, the profiles, when they are mature and ready to go. And some of that has to do with, like, sometimes these barrels leak a little bit, or sometimes maybe some more oxygen gets into a barrel and one, it's a little bit tighter than the other. Sometimes it might just be a weird situation where one's getting hit with airflow differently than the other, but they can be completely different profiles when they come out, even though they were the same day, same barrel, right next to each other in a rick house.
Now you got to have a crazy fucking profile.
Yeah.
On palate, I should say, to be able to distinguish
Yes.
2 barrels sitting next to each other, with one with a little bit. I mean, like you got it. That's, you're not a layman that's able to do that.
Well, that's it. We've been fortunate to have some really good, like Jackie she's got one of the best palates in the world that's been with us, and I've tasted thousands of barrels, I guess, over the years, and I'd say my palate's probably average, but I've tasted a lot of whiskey, and I can definitely tell when I'm tasting different things. But there are some people that are called super tasters that have unbelievable olfactory, where they can nose and taste way beyond everybody else. I think it's almost like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 people may have kind of that. But then to take it and develop it, because you definitely have to develop it. It's something over time. It's you got to develop it and learn. But like a lot of these big heritage brands, they're putting large batches of barrels together for their small batch, because there's not really a term. It's not really a definition of small batch that's like universal. A small batch is several barrels put together, or amount of barrels put together to create one, offering. So down here, these are 10 barrel. That's a 10 barrel small batch, but Evan Williams might be 1,000 barrels in their small batch. Jack Daniels might be.
It's not really a small batch, is it?
Well, it is. By definition, it is a small batch because it's a batch of barrels that are going into it. But there is a difference. It is much harder. It's much harder to blend 10 barrels. And I'm glad I'm not the one that's trying to do this. It's much harder to blend 10 barrels, because what happens with Jack Daniels, if you taste Jack Daniels in Australia, Japan, United States, guess what? It's going to taste the exact same.
It's McDonald's of whiskey.
Yeah, it's going to taste the exact same. And I love Jack Daniels. But it definitely some of their cast strength stuff and some of the new stuff they've come out with. But the thing about it is when you're blending just 10 barrels, each barrel really plays into it. And one of the misconceptions in whiskey is that I always hear this unicorn barrel thing, right? It's a unicorn barrel, right? Well, you think, oh, if I have 10 unicorn barrels and I put them together, I've got the fucking holy grail of unicorn barrels, right? Like, this is the best fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like, move over Van Winkle and BTAC and all that shit. And then guess what? And guess what? It's actually the opposite. Most of the time when you do that, it mutes the flavors and you get a very subpar whiskey. So you really have to look for like some base whiskey, some different flavor profiles that when they combine, they create a very balanced profile. And it's not that easy to do. It's not just dumping 10 barrels together and say, well, I hope this one is good. It is a fine art of like how that is done. But when you're a bigger brand and a heritage brand, there are master tasters that are extremely important. Their job is to make sure that Jack Daniels tastes just like Jack Daniels every time, that Evan Williams tastes like Evan Williams every time, that Jim Beam tastes like Jimmy. And so they're putting these massive amounts of barrels together, which usually creates their traditional profile. And then they're tasting it and saying, yep, this is our profile. Let's bottle it up and let's go. But definitely, like you said, it's a skill set. And sometimes those master tasters are just as important or more important than sometimes the master distillers nowadays. A lot of stuff is automated. There's still a lot of great master distillers out there, especially in Kentucky, that are working very hard. They have degrees in chemical engineering, and they have a biology, and they understand everything that they're doing and create fantastic whiskeys. But also that taster is extremely important to make sure that that profile is good. Most of the time, the master distiller is making sure there's no flaws, and that the white dog that comes off, the new make that comes off, they're smelling that and tasting that at very low proof levels. Like, you think of most bourbon, it has to be between 80 and 160, right, when it's distilled. It can't be below that or over that. But one of the things is when they're tasting it, they're at like 30 ABV or 30 proof, because that's where you can taste flaws.
So let me ask you this then. How does that... So they're taking the hearts and they're then cutting the hearts to taste it, because the hearts aren't coming out that weak. They're coming out at 175, 180 proof. Well, and you're cutting it down, right?
That's right. You're cutting it down. You're going to cut it down, and you're going to measure it right there. They'll either cut it down when they're doing it. The other thing is when they're first distilling it, there's a distiller window in the process. So before it gets to some of those high ABVs, they're tasting it through the process. They're making sure there's no flaws. They're at a different level. I figured once it started to cook off, at the very end, you're going to get you're going to have high proof that's coming off of that for the most part. And they do cut it down, but they are cutting it down because I know a lot of people out there love cast strength, and it's kind of like the hot thing, like the higher proof, the better. But one of the things about high proof is it hides a lot of flaws.
Oh yeah.
And that's okay, because if you're just going for that banger, that
you just want that burn,
and you wanted that burn, and I like it sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, give it, let's go. Absolutely. But if you really want to see the profile of a whiskey, I would say put some, not tap water, because that will fuck it up with the chlorine. Hopefully I can cuss on the show.
I don't fucking care.
Okay. I want to make sure. Sorry about that. But put some distilled water in there, limestone water. Bring it down and really see how that opens up and changes the dynamics of that whiskey, and you really start to see different flavors that are coming out, and some of the things that you may not have seen when it was at the higher proof, and all of a sudden maybe now you're saying, well, man, I'm really getting this or that. The other thing I want to make clear on tasting notes is a lot of tasting notes is all about perspective, right? So there's a lot of people in the whiskey world that's like, this tastes like sugar drops and plum sauce and some other shit. And the reality is it's based on what you grew up with. What do you know? What does your palate know? What are you used to? So I might say it tastes like my mom's Christmas sugar cookies. You might say it tastes like an almond bar or something like that. And we're both right. There is no wrong answers when you're tasting.
Yep.
So if anybody ever tells you that your tasting notes are wrong, tell them I said that they can fuck off, because they're not, that's not accurate.
It's very much the same way
yeah.
inside the cigar world. When I used to do
Yeah.
cigar reviews, people would come up to me all the time and give you an opportunity to light that
Yeah.
and smoke that a bit.
I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much at all. That's what
Yeah.
you're here to do. And one of the things that people know, I didn't taste that leather. I didn't get that sweetness. And I look at them and go, did you like it?
That's the bottom line,
Well, yeah,
right?
I did, but I wanted to. Okay, but did you like it? Well, yeah.
Exactly.
So then, who cares? Because you like all the flavors that you were
Yeah.
tasting. You like.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people exactly what you said. It's very much what your diet is.
Yeah.
I have a very close friend of mine that was one of the lead trainers, Travis Pappenheim, for Altadis for
Okay.
a long time.
Yeah.
And he's diabetic. He never tastes chocolate in a cigar because he never eats chocolate. He's been diabetic his whole life. So he doesn't get that reference point when people go, oh, it's a chocolate stick.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, well, I taste everything else in there.
Yeah.
I don't taste the chocolate, but I get everything
That's
else.
a perfect example of
Exactly.
it. It's a
because
perfect example of it.
It's literally, if you taste Cooler Ranch Doritos in your bourbon, that says a lot more about your diet than it does about your bourbon.
Your fat ass is probably sitting on the couch a lot.
It says a lot. You know, if you go, oh man, this bourbon tastes like a Hostess cake.
This tastes like Taco Bell and Twinkies. I see a question on there. Does it go straight from the barrel to the bottle, or do they? What does it say?
Mix the bottle. It's right there.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Oh, or do they mix the barrels to get consistency? So that's a great question. So if you're doing a single barrel, obviously it's coming straight from the barrel, but there's also some filtration processes. Some whiskey is unfiltered. It's called non-filtered. That's also a very popular term. Whiskey's a weird thing when it's not filtered. Yeah, when it's not filtered, and whiskey, if you ever have a whiskey that's not filtered and it gets cold, sometimes you'll see like this stuff at the bottom. It looks almost like kind of fatty, or waxy or oily kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that whiskey. It's great. It's just that's some of the stuff that's settling as the temperature goes down. Sometimes.
Could that be the oils from? Well, no, because you would have distilled off, but that couldn't be still oils from the corn and stuff, right?
No, I thought that's a good question for Royce Neely. Like, what exactly makes that? But it is part of that. Probably there's some of the things that are remnants of the mash and some of the things you distilled that create that. But what happens is a lot of these brands were worried that people would see their bottle on the shelf and be like, "Well, I'm not buying that shit. That's got like some crap in it." So they started to do a filtering process where they take that and they will use like a cloth or something like that. And so they'll pour the whiskey through it and it will take that out. They'll take that out. So that's not in there. And
like
it's
a
just
cheesecloth?
Yeah, like exactly like that. Now, Jack Daniels, we talked about that also. And Jack Daniels does a very unique thing. And a lot of people think if you ever have a chance to go to Lynchburg, Tennessee and go to Jack Daniels, it's like the Oompa Loompa Charlie Chocolate Factory of the whiskey world, because how much whiskey they put out. When you go there, you're like, where the hell are they making the whiskey at? Because you're walking around and it just doesn't look like it's that big. All you see is grain truck, and you never see anybody working there. I've been there many times. Hardly ever have I seen anybody working there. It just seems like it just is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? And but they have these huge vats of charcoal, and they do that. They burn the charcoal and then they put it in these vats and they drop. It's just a drop of whiskey, drop. I think it takes 6 to 8 days to get through that vat before it's collected. Now, some people think, oh, well, that's charcoal's adding flavor or color or something. That's the opposite. It's actually stripping away some of the things that you don't want in there. So that's kind of their process. Now, going back to the gentleman's question, where he talked about, do they mix the barrels? Sometimes they will tank barrels. So they will tank barrels and put them into a big tank, and they'll let it sit there and kind of, you should do this to let those barrels kind of get together and kind of become friends and connect and mingle a little bit. And then they are tasting it out of that vat before they bottle it. So it's not going like, they're not just dumping a bunch of barrels and then just bottling it immediately. It needs time for those to kind of connect and get together and see how they all play out together and intermingle. There's some chemistry there. I'm not a chemist. I didn't pass chemistry in high school. I got a D. I'd take that back. I got a fucking D. I wish I would. If I would have known it led to whiskey, I'd have been a lot more fucking attentive in that. But I didn't. Back then, I just like, what am I gonna use that shit for? I'm not gonna make mess, so I don't know what am I gonna use that for. So, but I wish I had paid more attention. But yeah, chemistry is amazing in the making of whiskey. There are so many details that go into it. And it seems simple on the surface, but we haven't even got into mash bill, yeast strands. There's like so much involved in making whiskey and how it can change these little things, the yeast you use, the mash bill you use. I mean, where the grains come from, all of these things play into flavor profiles. And that's why you have so many whiskeys out there that have different flavor profiles.
And this is also why, I mean, listening to you talk about the complexities of whiskey is the equivalent of me sitting across from Ricky Rodriguez or Ish from Olive Cigar Factory, or BAMF Cigars, and them talking about the tobacco, the polones, and how they're aged, how they're dried, how they're hung, where the levels. It's almost an identical industry in many ways, with a different product outcome. Is that a fair?
That is one thing that I love about cigars and whiskey. And I have spent, and I want to make it clear, by the way, I am no expert. I want to make that clear because there's master distillers out there. I was talking to Eddie Russell, who's with Wild Turkey, master distiller there for years, Jimmy Russell's son. And he told me he wasn't an expert. So the chance of me ever being an expert is probably zero. But I am passionate about it, and I do learn and love it. I wish, and one of the things I've smoked cigars for, I don't know, 30 years, I guess, and I've never put in the time to really learn as much about it as I did whiskey. But when I started to learn more and more about cigars, what I found is there's some real incredible parallel processes
very much
to this, and I love it. And also, I mean, think about it overall with fellowship, like having a cigar with your friends and hanging out. The same thing with whiskey. It creates an atmosphere where people come together, a ritual kind of where we're enjoying, we're talking about the cigars, we're sharing of that, we're sharing cigars. I love that whenever I go to a cigar club or bar where people are offering up different you offered me this today. It is a great smoke, by the way. Thank you very much for offering me this. But and talking about a little bit and learning in that process. It's the same with whiskey. That's something that we did with our whiskey club, bringing people together to have that opportunity to share those pours and then also learn and build your knowledge. And that's what it's about, right? I mean, but I think that there is some big parallels, and I also think you're going to start seeing a lot more whiskey brands and cigar brands pairing and partnering up. And you're going to start seeing, you already are, you're going to start seeing cigar blend.
Yep, the barrels.
Cigar blends, and there is some science behind that.
They've been doing that for a while now.
Yeah, Independent Stave, who is big boys in the barrel making world, they have it down to a science that I could hand them this cigar. They could break this down and tell you everything about it, that what's in this, and the chemical and the biology or whatever, and then they can put a barrel together that will pair well with it. That's how crazy it's gotten scientifically. Yeah.
No, it is. That's one of the things that I've always felt why cigars, whiskey, bourbon, scotch, spirits in general in cigars have always had a close ancestry to each other.
Yeah.
They go really well. For instance, and it's I'm not really the type of person that's like this one specific type of whiskey and this one cigar, man, boom, dirty. I don't believe in specified pairings.
Yes.
I believe in matching the strength of the cigar with the strength of the whiskey. I think that is more. I knew we were smoking something a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
I gave us something that was going to hold up its own, but not be lost or not be a pepper bomb.
You got it.
And that's really how you should, that's how your pairing should be. Because if you are so concise, this bottle with this cigar, that might be the wrong thing for somebody else. But you can explain it by going, this cigar is a fuller body. It would blend better with a rye that's maybe a
Mm-hmm.
3-year aged rye
Mhm.
that's in the 45 to 50 range ABV. You know, so you can get a little bit more generalized, but still be kind of specific without labeling out bottles.
100%.
Because I think that's where people get lost in the mix of what the best pairing cigar, because then you start fights. Right now it's my favorite team against your favorite team,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm right, you're wrong. I'm big, you're little, the whole Matilda thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so for me, it's always been much better to be like, what's your palate for here? Okay, I know the whiskey. I'm going to pick a cigar for the whiskey based on the makeup of the cigar, but I can give you 10 cigars in here that would go with this
Of course. Yeah,
without any issue.
yeah.
I just chose a pipe one because he's Stillwell Star is one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, and I think it pairs excellent. And I think you make a great point. Is just like there's so many varieties of whiskey out there. When I go into a humidor, a big humidor, and I see all those cigars, it can be intimidating for a whiskey buyer, especially one that maybe doesn't know the detail. And most whiskey buyers, when you're in the business, it may be a little bit different in that way with cigars. I don't know, but with whiskey buyers, some of your biggest people that are purchasers are people that maybe only buy 1 to 3 bottles a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a large group. And when you go into a whiskey aisle now, I can tell you that on the shelf, 40% of the bottles on the shelf, even though they're under a different label, different brand from a different
Same
place,
company.
have the same exact whiskey in it from MGP.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't know that unless you knew how to read a label and could turn it over and say, oh, distilled in Indiana, like, which is usually a dead giveaway that it's MGP. Most rye, 95.5 rye is MGP. And there's nothing wrong with it. I love MGP. Whistle Pig distills their own now, but they get a lot of their whiskey from
Distilled
Canada.
Indiana.
Yeah, so this is an MGP, so there might be.
I never even. That
Yeah.
is a very valuable fucking lesson that you just
Yeah.
taught everybody. That is incredibly valuable to know. That is very similar to the cigar world.
Okay.
I would say that is more closely aligned to the Cuban cigar world,
Okay.
where serial numbers mean more than anything, because you can have a Monte Cristo made at 10 different factories in Cuba, or 6 different factories. Yeah. All of them are individually serialized, but maybe 2 of those 6 factories are much better.
Oh.
So when you have like hardcore
Yep.
Cuban
Yep.
buyers, they go off the serial number based on the factory it's made in. I never knew that. So
Yeah.
you mean to tell me I could see something that says Kentucky bourbon on it?
Well, you couldn't.
But it's made in New York City.
Now here's the thing. Now you can't see if it says there is the TTB, and we talked about oversight and the government and whatnot. But you could see something that says bourbon, because bourbon does not have to be Kentucky straight bourbon. Obviously, has to be made in Kentucky, but bourbon can be made anywhere in the United States, right? As long as it follows at least 51% corn, new white American oak, those things. But you could see it could be sold in Colorado as a Colorado brand, and if you turn the label over, it might say MGP. Won't say MGP. It will say distilled in Indiana, right? So you want to see where it's distilled. And you want to see where it's bottled.
So that's the tell.
You want to see where it's distilled. You want to under it's bottled.
Okay.
The other thing about age statements to know in whiskey is anything that is under 4 years of age needs to have an age statement. So if it is under 4 years of age, it should say on the back, somewhere on that bottle, it should say 2 years or 3 years. Once it gets to 4 years, you can take the age statement off, and most brands do.
Really?
So. And that doesn't mean that the whiskey is just 4 years. You could have 12-year-old whiskey that just doesn't have an age statement on it. But when you're making these batches of whiskey and you're putting barrels together, right? This barrel might be 4 years. This barrel might be 12 years. This barrel might be 18 years. This barrel might be 10 years. So you're putting a bunch of different age barrels together to create that profile. But it can't be, nothing can be under 4 years, or you have to have an age statement on it.
So, like the cigar world, or I should say, in the cigar world, your crops are always different, right?
Yeah.
It's never the same tobacco leaf from the year before.
Okay.
but the cigar is constantly reblended to hit within probably a 5% profile
Okay.
based on the master
Very
blender,
similar.
10%
Yep.
to be very essentially close enough that its most ardent consumer doesn't
Yeah.
realize it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a trick. That's not that's just, it's a growing crop. It can't be the same every year, right?
Yeah.
So you take this, it's an award winner. You can never make this again.
No.
And that's a huge difference with bourbon
Yep.
versus the small batch. There's nothing that you could do. All the recreation exactly the same as this is will not produce. Most likely will not produce.
You can come close, right, with a good master blender or taster, and you can try and create that profile just like they probably do with the cigars. Where it really comes down to is single barrels. There are so many single barrels, and a lot of times you see this at stores. So they have an opportunity to go. They select a barrel at the distillery. It has their sticker on it, selected a single barrel. Once that's gone, that's gone. That profile, that single barrel will never be duplicated again. So that sometimes also, like I've had some unbelievable single barrels, and I'll never have that one again, right? After you run out of the bottles. Now, there's a lot of brands out there that people don't realize are even single barrels. Blanton's is a single barrel. So some of these bottling offerings and stuff that they have out there, whenever you see single barrel on it, that's it. Once that profile, if you really love it, I'd buy as many bottles as you can, because it's not like you can come back next week and buy another one that says single barrel that's going to taste the same.
It's got to be numbered in that. So if you're looking at a single barrel and you try it and you're like, oh, I love it. How do I come back the next day and make sure it's the same one? Or a week later,
it will say on there, like this one down here has 23B on it, right? So you look down here on the label, it's going to have that on there.
Yep.
You're going to look at the proof just to make sure it's the right proof. Usually, like this one that I brought too as well, this is a slow fade that we did. It's another one, but you can see right here, I'll let you do that. Excellent. But you can see, and if you turn it a little bit, yeah, right there. So the name is on there. So usually the single barrels have a name, or they have, they're going to have some number on there. Elijah Craig, like sometimes, like some of these, if you see a single, and a lot of times they'll have a sticker on it that identifies them as a single barrel. We'll say single barrel. So they're fun because, I mean, I've picked over 200 single barrels. I've been very fortunate to go to many, many distilleries. And it is really fun to go through a rick house and just see the different profiles that are coming out of the same whiskey, that same mash bill, same rick house, and being able to select one that fits my profile, or for our club, the profile of the club that everybody kind of likes, and said, this would be a good one for a lot of people. But yeah, you can get the same brand, the same, like I said, and go and pick two different barrels and they taste completely different. And if you bottle that as a single barrel, you're not going to get that. It's not going to be replicated again. So it is a fun to do single barrels. Small batching creates a better opportunity to try and hit that profile. And the more barrels you use in a small batch, the easier it becomes to hit that profile, because it kind of mutes to a profile. And if you've been making whiskey for 200 years, 150 years, you got it dialed in.
Oh yeah. I mean,
the big boys have it dialed.
At that point, it's cruise control.
They're cruise. They know exactly what that profile is, and they know exactly what they're looking for, and they have a tasting panel that is exceptional, that does not miss.
So are you guys at a spot where you're doing bottle and bonded?
So we have a bonded warehouse, which you have to have, right? It's part of that process. It has to be distilled in one distilling season. There's 2 distilling seasons. So we have the ability to put out a bottle and bond. Heaven Hell and Bernie Lovers, if anybody here knows who Bernie Lovers is, he's pretty much the king of bottle and bond with Heaven Hell. He's a great individual.
Real quick, before you explain, define for everybody, just in case they don't understand what bottle and bond means.
Right.
Because it's kind of a rare thing, or it could be an expensive thing too.
It could.
So maybe some people don't have it a lot.
Absolutely. So the Bottle and Bond Act was created back in the day when whiskey maybe wasn't as reputable, and there was people making whiskey in their closets and in basements. And I mean, a lot of that whiskey was made with like, hey, let's get more color in this. I'm going to put some chewing tobacco in this, or some embalming fluid and shit like that. And that's the real deal. And people would go blind and die.
Rot gut.
Yeah, they'd go dying blind, and that's not good. Like, I mean, you want to enjoy your whiskey. You don't want to go blind or die. So they came up with the Bottle and Bond Act, and with that act, it was a government official that would oversee in a locked rick house that would oversee this whiskey to ensure that it met certain standards and quality. Um, and with that being at least one single distillate year season, right? So you couldn't have one that you distilled 2 years ago and one that you distilled a year after that. You couldn't combine that. That's it. Has to be one distillate season. And then it has to be 4 years of age, and it has to be under lock and key. So when I say that lock and key, the funny thing about it is that Larceny, which is a Heaven Hell brand, a wheated bourbon, they call it Larceny because the government officials that used to oversee the rick houses many times would just go in there. They had the key to it. They would just go in there and get sauced all the time and take whiskey out. And like, why wouldn't you, right? I mean, yeah, sticky fingers. So
is that really how that name came? I didn't.
Yes, that's Larceny's from Heaven Hell. They named it after the government officials that would go in with sticky fingers and steal that bourbon out.
That's a funny little tongue-in-cheek name.
but there's a lot of bottle and bond products out there. You'll look, it will have to say it on the label. It'll say bottled and bond. It's when you see bottle and bond, it says this is quality. It was made with certain standards. Sometimes it's younger whiskey, not always. There's bottle and bond that's older too, but a lot of it is
usually more expensive because it's a smaller. Like you don't have to have bottle and bond. That's something that you.
No,
like,
you don't.
That's something that's like considered like a special.
It's a little bit harder. Made, right? It's a little bit harder to do it. Like when you're making good whiskey, you can't cut corners. You just can't cut corners in whiskey.
Like the kosher version of whiskey, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that is a thing too. Kosher whiskey is a thing too.
I know
that.
Rabbi comes
to the distillery and make sure everything's kosher.
That's what I mean. It's kind of like the government comes and makes sure everything's kosher.
Exactly, and so yeah, I mean,
comes and makes sure everything's kosher.
It is, and they do.
The Lord bless this to get you.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
And it's great. So that, but it's kind of cool process actually to watch. But yeah, so, there's different things in whiskey, these terms that you hear, bottle and bond, Kentucky straight bourbon.
But bottle
small
and bond
batch.
Doesn't mean good. It just means it was
made
under
a specific
lock
way.
and key.
It just means it was made a specific way and had specific parameters around it. Just like bourbon is, right? Like bourbon has to be at least 51% corn and has to be finished in new white American.
I guess when I say it doesn't mean good, it doesn't mean that it's the company's best offering.
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
And that's what I need. Yeah, that's why I want people to know, because bottle and bond is an extra regulatory process you have to go through.
Yes.
But because it's bottle and bond, because you see that, I feel like some people. It's a marketing thing. Some people look at it and go, "That's the best bottle they make." I'm sure,
well,
right?
Let's say this: 100 years ago, if I had a choice and one said bottle and bond, and one day I'm picking the fucking bottle and bond because I want to see and not go blind and not die. So
yeah, at least the government officials.
But now,
got
obviously, there's regulation on all whiskey, right? And people aren't putting out poppycock like whatever garbage. So the quality control on whiskey is there, but bottle and bond, that. It is quality, and it's made well. And there's some really good bottle and bond value out there, where there's some really good bottles that are bottle and bond that have great value and taste great, and they might be more of your mid-range to lower price point actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's not necessarily.
I don't see a lot of bottle and bond.
What you see now.
That's why I always thought they were expensive, because I don't see bottle and bond on the shelf.
I bet if you went and you. You really looked for it, you would start to see it a lot more than you think. You'll see a lot of labels that you're going to be like, oh, that's bottle and bond. That brand is bottle and bond. So it's just the same thing. Looking at I saw somebody on here, men don't read labels or directions. I agree with that shit.
I sure as shit don't.
I agree. I used to not. Now I definitely do with whiskey, but that's probably the only thing. If I'm putting some shit together, it's I'm just putting it together and hope it works out in the end. But yeah, directions. Who wants that?
You know what I'm actually surprised about? That there wasn't some stupid government official that made you put usage directions on alcohol bottles of like, don't pour in eyes, don't.
It's coming. It's coming.
Just because
it's coming.
Right, yeah. And I say, okay, so I say that I say that. So I used to have a Ford Focus, right?
Yeah.
I had the original. I had a 2003 Ford Focus. I just call it the Focus. My brother works for BMW, and he's always been in the car industry. On the inside passenger door, footwell, there was a hole. Above that hole, on the inside of the car, at the footwell of the passenger, above that hole, had a no gas sign. And I asked my brother, I was like, why would they think anybody he goes, some idiot put gas in there. Yep. And some attorney said they couldn't do it. So the fact that alcohol doesn't come with a internal consumption only versus like if you get in eyes direction is always boggled me. I mean, even on alcohol, there's directions on rubbing alcohol.
I'm telling you, it's probably coming. I think that the regulations on alcohol, you're starting to see this movement a little bit, whatever. But there's this movement a little bit about they're going to start putting warnings and different things on just like they kind of really regulated cigars. Like they really started to over-regulate the shit. I mean, you go to France or somewhere and buy a cigar, they got a picture of like lung cancer on there. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, looking at that, I want the pretty box, and they put this fucking ugly picture on there. I'm like, I don't need to know that, fucking, or see that shit. But you know that I see it trending a little bit in that direction. There's a younger generation that's coming up that is not drinking. They're smoking weed. They're taking mushrooms, right? They're just not. They're finding a different high or a different way. And so with that, it'll be interesting once they start paying bills and get out of their parents' basement. We'll see, and they start to have reality checks, right, in life and the hardship. Maybe they'll start drinking some of the good stuff. Right?
They'll realize why everyone does drink.
They'll be like, well, now I know why those fuckers were drinking because they're all fucked up, and now I am too. So I'm gonna start drinking. But I think it's funny about regulation and what you see in warning label. I do think that I've seen some things out there. I've seen some things in legislation where they're like, oh, we're gonna put this on there or that. I mean, the reality is we know that alcohol in moderation, right? Alcohol responsible drinking is important, but also like, fuck it, man. If I had a choice, if having time and spending with friends and family and having a pour of whiskey and having a cigar, or not doing that and living 10 years longer, I'm gonna choose living 10 years less and enjoy my life and enjoy my family, my fellowship, even if that were to be the case. But I think it's just more important to live life, to enjoy the things that are there in life in moderation and safe. Like there can be problems that come with that, but for the most part, for most people, the social aspect and the social drinking and smoking cigars is not going to kill you, and it's going to enhance your life and create relationships and memories. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, in college we used to say it was the best times with the best friends you'll never remember.
That is the worst. I think the worst thing is to wake up and be like, what the fuck did I do last night?
But you know what, though? There's always that one friend that goes, dude, I know it all. I remember everything. And you're like, shut up.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you're 100% right. It's not that you can't have a great time without it. It's the cherry on top of the sundae, right? The sundae doesn't need the cherry.
Yeah.
You certainly don't need the calories or the sugar.
Right.
But that cherry just adds that little bit. Alcohol, when enjoyed properly, and not just silly straw inside the bottle after you open it and not put it down though, it's one of those things that it accentuates the environment, and it's just an enhancer, right? It's a party enhancer in the best way until it's not, right? If you're overdone.
I mean, sometimes my best times are sitting out in my rocking chair on the back porch with my dog, smoking a cigar at night, in the quietness with the stars and a whiskey. I mean, just even that, like the relaxation and kind of that like de-escalation. We're going, I'm sure a lot of people, we go through a lot of shit and there's a lot of things happening, and to be able to have that time to de-escalate or have that time with friends just to bring it down and enjoy and relax. Cigars is a big relaxer for me, and I'll smoke cigar. I'll go work out. I'll come back home and smoke a cigar. And I mean, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger smoked cigars when he was working out, which is crazy back in the day. So, and the same thing with whiskey. I won't usually drink whiskey when I'm working out. That'd be probably not good, but I might enjoy it later, right? You put in the work and then you earn the pour. So
I tell you what,
yeah, that'd be a disaster.
That would be like, oh, I'm so thirsty, just rocking shots.
Dude, I like Brent right there. Oh wait, yeah, he puts up there. He says those last 10 years are miserable anyway. Fucking truth, man. Brent, that's the truth, brother. Yeah, who wants to fucking live those last 10 years? Someone wiping your ass. No thanks. Yeah, Ty putting on there. Yeah, cigar, whiskey, and golf. That's a great thing too. And Ty and I have played golf together, smoked cigars, drank plenty of whiskey over the years, and that's another great time, right? You're out with friends, you're outside, you're enjoying it. You got that cigar in the golf cart, you got a little pour of whiskey, and it makes me play better. I know that because if you take golf serious, you're gonna suck. Like it just. But if you don't take it serious and you smoke and drink, usually you play better. Kind of like Daly, right? Like John Daly, who fucking dude slams a fifth, has a pack of cigarettes, and goes up and mashes 400-yard drives. Man, you got to respect that. So.
Oh, I loved it. What was it in the early '90s? Because John Daly's like the only golfer I follow.
Oh, he's great.
Because he is just the greatest.
Oh, fantastic.
With his responses and everything. But one of the things I loved about it was he was like, somebody asked him, so how do you get warmed up for the PGA? Get here, I smoke about 3 or 4 cigarettes, have about 4 or 5 beers, and I make my way to the tee.
Yeah, no, that's the truth.
I know.
And he's putting up, I mean, he's winning tournaments, and dude, could you imagine that guy? And maybe he wouldn't be as good. Maybe if he took it serious, and maybe that's part of his thing is like, but if he, I mean, and don't get me wrong, he has God-given talent, and I'm sure he's fine-tuned his skills over the years. He's but
good enough.
Yeah, but he now is his talent is carrying him, and he's fun to watch, man, and you know he can bomb it. So.
Oh yeah, I watched the clip of him. He gets out of a cart with this younger crowd. Yeah. And he's all in just Hawaiian gear, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He plays in sandals.
Oh yeah.
Like he plays barefoot. He's like, fuck your golf shoes.
Oh yeah, dude, I love it.
So he gets out of the golf cart, lights up a cigarette, slams a beer. He goes, all right, where's the first hole and what's the course record?
Yeah.
Just like.
And he'll probably get it. Yeah.
Like, so
where's the tee box and where's the course record? Yeah.
But you know, it's one of those things that whiskey is so. It is American.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I, for people that sit there and I haven't met too many people like this, and I always know that they've never actually had scotch. If they say this, oh, whiskey and scotch are so. No, they're not.
No,
not at all. Whiskey, bourbon is 100% American.
Yeah.
Just like Scotland is, or Scotch is 100%. You can't say that with wine. You can't. You could say you can't even really say that with tequila because you can have American tequila.
Well, you got to call it agave, but yes,
but
it
you
could be
still
tequila. Tequila is agave plant.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, absolutely.
But like you can't have. I mean, you have the Chinese, the Asian style whiskeys, but those don't have the same. And I bring up the Asian stuff because I want you to kind of go through why that's different and why that's not American whiskey.
Sure. I
mean,
that
it's bad.
And here's the thing. There are some similarities and some differences, right? Climate is a huge thing. Water source and climate, right? Why is most of the whiskey in the United States made in Kentucky?
All the springs.
Because it has a great climate and it has an unbelievable amount of limestone water under the ground, right? Water plateaus that have a ton of water, which is used and it helps with that making of that.
Limestone's a natural filter too.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what it is. You're getting that real pure water component. Now, Japanese whiskey. There's some fantastic Japanese whiskeys. Hibiki, you get a Hibiki 21. You ever have a chance to try it?
They're great.
It's an obsessional whiskey, but it's different. And a lot of times it's the wood, right? What is the wood? French oak is different than American oak.
So that's what they're using.
Well, no, they might have their own. Like there's definitely oak in Japan and different types of wood that they use. And it's not always oak. To be bourbon, it has to be new American oak, right? White oak. But a lot of the whiskeys out there that you see, there's some whiskeys out there now that are being made with different types of wood.
But the Asian companies can't sell a bourbon.
They couldn't
in
say
the US.
bourbon.
It has to be a whiskey.
Crown Royal tried to have they put it on their bottle one time. That was a fucking disaster.
They got slapped.
They got slapped pretty quick. And if you ever, I think I might have one of those, but it says Crown Royal bourbon. Yeah, that was not. But yeah,
they got fined for that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, they had to pull that, right? Because it's but it's like champagne, like some of those things, Prosecco, right? Champagne, like France, champagne, right? But the difference also is mash bill. So your Scotch, Irish whiskey, your Japanese whiskey is usually single malt. It's usually a malted whiskey, right? So it's a single malt. Most American whiskey, you're either going to have like your rye whiskey, your wheated whiskey, or your wheated bourbon, or your bourbon, right? And so what that means is, and there's typically in most American whiskey, there's usually 3 grains. So you'll usually have like corn, rye, and malted barley. Like those will be your 3 things that are in that mash. Or if it's a wheated bourbon, like everybody likes Weller maybe, or some of those, or Larceny, some of these wheated bourbons. We have a wheated bourbon that's great. It's an organic wheated bourbon. But that has at least 51% corn to be, but instead of using rye as that secondary grain in the mash bill, you use wheat, and that's what you use there, and that's why it's called wheated bourbon. And then rye has to be at least 51% rye. Most rye is made at MGP, or has been. It's 95.5, right? So 95% rye, 5% barley, that piece. And the other thing about like Japanese whiskey, they like lower proof. So a lot of their whiskey is in that 80 to 90 kind of proof point.
Bare minimum.
The bare minimum for the whiskey category.
Yeah,
regulation, right? The other thing with Scotch too is we talked about barrels. They can be finished in used barrels.
They hate virgin barrels.
Yeah, so used barrels for them, so that's going to create different, but it's going to take longer to age, and the climate too. So if you're ever in Scotland, there's different climates around there.
That's why you typically see a young Scotch is 8 years.
Exactly, and you're going to see, so age statement is also, that's another thing we can talk about on here. Age statement is very deceiving, okay? Just because something is older, especially in American whiskey, does not make it better.
Nope.
In fact, a lot of older whiskey sometimes becomes very tannic and woody, and over oaked, we call that term. Now, some people like that profile. I actually like a little bit of oak. I don't mind that on a profile. There's some brands out there that have that higher, you get past.
Depends on what it is.
You get past 12 years, kind of, and you maybe even past 10 years, but you start to have risk of over oaking whiskey. But in Scotland, you might see 30, 50 years, and it's where it's stored, how it's stored. Sometimes the barrels are bigger, sometimes they're always used, like those things. So, and how that climate works. But in Kentucky, when you're getting up to, 90, 100 degrees with 100% humidity in the summers, and then the winters are maybe a little bit more mild, so that wood, it continues to really work in that wood during that, middle of spring through late fall. You're just constantly working in that wood, where Scotch may sit dormant for longer or not penetrate as far into that wood with higher temperatures.
Now, when it comes to single malt in the Scotch world, it means a single distillery, more or less. It all that.
Well, there's
whiskey,
blends.
There's blended Scotch.
Yeah.
But then those are labeled as blended, and then there's single malt, which would be like Ardbeg. It all comes from Ardbeg.
Well, the single malt just means there's just one malt, or it's just one grain that's used, that's single malt. So what it's really saying is it is just one grain that has made this this whiskey, that fermented and made this whiskey, versus where we have, like I said, multiple grains that might be American, Canadian. One thing about Canadian is they have some really good rye. And rye, the actual rye that's grown out there, is very quality rye, and a lot of American whiskey use Canadian rye because it's harder to grow. There's some in North America, but it's harder to grow in the U.S. But different also, they're allowed to put coloring, can be put into some of the Scotch, and some of the regulations are different, where you can add coloring, you can add flavoring to things. Canadian whiskey can add flavoring. Crown Royal's got flavoring. Apple. I'm not gonna get in trouble for Crown Royal. But okay, I see Ty's talking about Hibiki, Yamazaki, Hushusku. Yeah, they are.
They do drink more like a Scotch, 100%.
Yeah, it's more like a Scotch.
100%.
And I think it's more fruity and floral and softer. Like the Japanese whiskey to me is definitely it's a lot softer and floral and fruity. And if you're in the mood for that and you want a lower proof and just kind of a chill, and like I said, Hibiki 21 is a killer. If you ever see that, get it. But yeah, I prefer American bourbon. That's my probably preference. I also like rye. Rye is not as popular. It's very popular for cocktails, but it's not as popular in uh, uh, maybe America as bourbon is. But yes, it's just all about preference. And there's nothing wrong with drinking scotch for a while. And whether it's peated or not peated, like Lefroy or some of these, like you talk about.
I campfire, bottle it up. I'm there.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's just the mood you're in and what you want in that profile. So I think there's a lot of good whiskey out there that's made in different countries. But obviously, I think American whiskey is the best, and that's why I wanted to be involved in it. And that's primarily what I drink. So
Well, I've got a little bit of this. So we've got some breaking news here, everybody, and I am so honored and happy to promote this and to talk about this. But we actually, as all you guys saw the logo, Hidden Barn is now coming on as a partner with the show and will be the official bourbon whiskey of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. So I couldn't be more excited. I love it. It's fantastic. And to me, it was really important that even though it's in Kentucky, you are here. An owner is here in Colorado, because that's the one thing I've always wanted on this show is to show a Rocky Mountain brand. And I would consider Hidden Barn a Rocky Mountain, a hybrid between Rocky Mountain and Kentucky brand.
There's definitely a connection. I love my folks in Kentucky, and I also love my folks in Colorado. And like I said, I grew up here. I grew up in Arvada, a native of Colorado, and Colorado's great. And to be able to have both of that, and to be a part of Colorado, and to be a part of Kentucky is great. I think Colorado has some great whiskey here. There's several. At one time, man, I think there was about 112 distilleries in Colorado making brown spirits. That's a lot. That's close to Kentucky, like amount. Now, not the big boys in production and volume, but a lot of distilleries, smaller craft distilleries. And I think there's some really good Colorado brands out there too, and I love them too as well. And my thing about it is raising all whiskey. I think it's important to. I don't know how you are in the cigar world, but for me, if somebody's doing it right, whether it's my brand or not, I want them to be successful. So the whole category of whiskey and we keep growing it and giving people the opportunity to enjoy. Just same with cigars, like keep bringing people to it so that it keeps growing. And when we grow it, we get more product, and they bring us better and better stuff because there's the demand for it, right? So. But I'm honored to, and I know, talk to Royce Neely, our master distiller. Excited about it. I think it'll be a great partnership. I'm excited to get you some of the new offerings that Colorado hasn't got all the offerings. So Colorado was one of the first states we were in because I was here and Matt was here, and we saturated the shit out of it with some of our first so many batches, and it's some of our younger whiskeys. So if you've had it here, you're tasting that 4 to 5 year offering, which isn't bad. It's just our younger stuff. Now we're into that 6-7 year where that oak has really started to play into with the pot still, and it's creating some unbelievable flavors. So we'll get some of that here. Eventually that will be coming back into Colorado. We've moved through all of those batches here. And we've got some different offerings too. We've got our wheated, our high rye. We do a Madeira finish. So that's one finish that we do. Where we take Madeira barrels and finish Kentucky straight bourbon, and then we finish that in a Madeira barrel for about 6 months. It's very tricky. You can over Madeira really easily, and it tastes like caca, but you have to really monitor that and watch it. But we've been very fortunate. We won some awards with our Madeira finish at San Francisco as well. And that's a fun pour, and I think I'd love to see you try that.
I would love to.
And you tell me with your expertise on cigars, like, hey, I really think that these cigars really pair well with that. And I think that's what it's about is I want to learn a lot still about cigars, and I keep trying to grow my knowledge there. And I am very infantile, young in that process. I've smoked them. I've enjoyed them, like you said. I'm someone that enjoys them. I love the process. I've had many of them. There's several brands that I enjoy, and also I don't know a whole lot about them. I know about the tobacco plant. I know about some of the different areas where they're grown.
You know enough to know what you like,
and that's what it comes down to, right? And
cheers, brother.
Yeah,
Thank
cheers.
you so much for this partnership.
Oh yeah,
I appreciate it. We got connected by a mutual friend of ours. And for those of you that watch the show regularly, you will be seeing that mutual friend of ours on the show as well. You are more than welcome to talk about the mutual friend if you would like, but how we got connected. But I am just so excited to have you part of it. When I'll be honest, I didn't hear a whole lot about Hidden Barn.
Yeah, it's new.
And then talking with you on the phone, we connected. And I know who our mutual friend.
Yeah, it's Stephen Fonte with Limestone Branch Distillery. If you want to see, I love Yellowstone. Steve Beam, one of the Beams, was the master distiller, one of the original owners. Stephen Fonte was his right hand. He's been the global ambassador for him. He's one of the hardest working ambassadors.
Entertaining people to talk.
And you will not be bored hanging out with Stephen Fonte. I will tell you that. And he is a living cartoon character. And I love the guy. I know he's going to be out here for the festival. He's excited about that. I was just talking to him. And that's the one also thing in the whiskey world, just like the cigar world, where there's a lot of connections out there. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of friendships and connections with a lot of the people from all the different brands. And Fonte is one of the best out there. And when you get him on your show, you're going to break the internet because he will not disappoint, man.
This guy is, what's his the rooster?
Fog.
He is the embodiment of Foghorn Leghorn, kind of the way he talks. Am I wrong in that?
No.
That's close, right? If we're thinking of a cartoon
I would
character,
say that he gets compared to that.
Because he's that loud, boisterous, well, I tell you what. I mean, I met him down when he did Yellowstone at Smokin'. This is why I love Smokin'. Smokin' brought us together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And love Abe and crew down there. They're the best. Definitely check out smokin.com. But you know, he was I didn't expect that. I was expecting like a guy. Okay, let's no. He is the living embodiment of like backflips on stage when he talks. Like
he is passionate. He believes in whiskey. He believes in bourbon, Kentucky bourbon. He believes in the product. He is someone that took time to become educated. There's a lot of I always get in trouble when I do this, so I won't say too much. But there's a lot of people out there that present like in the influence world, but they don't really care about the product, right? They don't really care about growing whiskey, growing cigars, bringing people together like that. They care about promoting themselves, right? And he is the complete opposite. That guy is all about growing whiskey, connecting with people, and really educating people, bringing people to understand the history, not just of Yellowstone and Limestone Branch, but going back to the Yellowstone National Park and one of the official bourbons of the park there, whiskeys. Steve Beam, his family, obviously, if you don't know the name Beam, you want to know that in whiskey because the Beams have
Jim Beam.
Yeah, Jim Beam.
You don't drink whiskey if you don't know Beam.
There's a lot of master distillers out there that have the last name Beam that have been at several brands, and it's not just Beam. It's Heaven Hell.
The cigar industry, like the bourbon, it's very incestuous in the sense of they go from place to place to place, all within the industry.
Yes.
They very much. What I want to do now is I want to focus on your and Royce's relationship.
Yeah.
How did you guys get connected?
Oh, those are great. Yeah.
Because you're multiple states away. It's not like he's a next door neighbor of yours.
Yeah.
So how did that connection happen?
Yep.
And then who got the bug up their ass to start a company?
Well, Royce Neely's smarter, younger, more talented than me by all means. And I was down in New Orleans.
How young is he?
I want to say he's in his 30s, probably.
Okay, so coming up, master blender.
When I say no,
Up and
master
coming.
distiller, yeah, he is.
Master distiller, yeah.
I would say that him and Freddie No from Beam are the two kind of looked at as the premier next generation of master distillers. Freddie No is a great individual as well from Beam. Fred No, his dad. But
this is so fucking good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So good, dude.
But I was in New Orleans at a bourbon festival out there. They have a great bourbon festival out there every year. It's a fun place, and it's a great atmosphere. All the big names come, all the big brands come. They do a seminar for 2 days, and then they have a huge whiskey event, tasting, and paired with all the great food from Louisiana in the evenings. And I thought I knew a few things, and I was there. This is back in 2018, I think, and I went to a seminar, and it was Trey Zeller, who's with the owner of Jefferson Bourbon. He was there, and he was speaking, and there was this young kid in the front that kept asking all these questions. And when he asked, there were other master distillers in there and big names in whiskey. Everyone would stop and listen to him, and he was asking questions that I was like what? What is this guy talking about, man? How is he like so knowledgeable? And so I asked him. I said, "Who is that?" And they go, "Well, that's Royce Neely, man. He's got his own distillery out in Sparta that he started himself with his father, and and when I say started himself, they built it. He slept at the distillery for like 3 years, like
so it's Jonathan Drew style story.
Yeah, he don't like that was his life. He dedicated it to make it happen.
11 generations of
he sat in there and slept on a cot in the yeast room and watched the whiskey. I mean, whiskey, you got to be on it and whatnot, especially pot still. And he's out there and he's doing that. And he did that for 3 years of his life, just sat in there and did that. And they built that from with their own hands from scratch. And so someone introduced me and I got to know him, man. And he is incredible. Not just the wealth of knowledge that he has with whiskey, but historically too, and also his family, like the stories from his family and 11 generations of making whiskey. It's incredible. If you ever have the opportunity, that's where Hidden Barn is made. Go out to Sparta, Kentucky. It's on your way to Cincinnati from Louisville, right off the highway there. And take a tour. You're not going to be disappointed.
Tell them Nate sent you.
Yeah, definitely tell them that Nate sent you, and they'll take care of you, man. They do it right. They've been doing it. But he is a astute learner, and he always wants to learn more and more. And he brings some of the top. He's been around the top people in whiskey, and he learns from them, and he applies it. He's a very smart individual, and so I met him. He was in a movie called Kindred Spirits, and it tells his family story. So you could probably see it on Netflix or one of these Prime or something like that, Kindred Spirits. And it talks about his family story. And so I brought him out. I brought together about 4 whiskey clubs at the time. This was several years back, maybe 2019. And we rented out a movie theater. And we did like some tastings, and then we played the movie, and then he came up with some of the other people in the movie and did a question and answer, like kind of thing. And that's where I got to know him. So that's where that relationship started. And he didn't when I was talking with Matt about starting a brand, and we were talking about this. I said, hey, if I want to be involved with a brand and I want to get whiskey, I want to get it from Royce, because I knew the quality, I knew the passion and heart that he had in it, and he wanted to make a good product. So had reached out to him, and then Jackie was still at Old Forester at the time, and as the master taster, and we became friends through 5280 Whiskey. She had come out, done events with us, and then she would come out with my wife and I, and we would do like I called it my annual exercise of the year, where I would go like snowshoeing or cross country skiing or some shit like that, or hiking. And that was really my exercise of the year. I'm a lot better shape now. I used to be a real fat ass. Go look at some of the pictures.
Hey, round is a shape.
Yeah, it was a shape. Right? It was a shape, right? But definitely a lot better shape now. But but so then we were on a hike and no, we were cross country skiing and I was talking about. She says, I'm interested, and I was like whatever. Like, what are you talking about? You're at Old Forester, like one of the. You just did Whiskey Row. You just launched your rye.
Huge company.
You're involved in birthday bourbon, all those things. But so she said you want to be involved. So we started it out. We started the brand, and then Jackie came on, and really it was just people like you said. We met through the industry. We met through different things, and then came together to start this brand. I will say this: Jackie just recently stepped down. She is now. She has a perfume brand and cologne brand called Eau Duke that is based on whiskey, like base, and it is incredible. And she's putting her passion and time into that. And then she's also growing flowers and herbs and really getting into that. And I'm excited for her journey. And we'll have an exciting announcement coming up of someone that will be joining our team here soon too. I think next week that possibly will come out. So I'm very excited about who will be coming in and joining our team there. But yeah, that's Royce is. I mean, you go out and you hang out with Royce. You're shooting Tommy guns off his back patio. You're sipping whiskey straight from the barrel. His office at his house is a collection of some of the craziest whiskey. We're smoking cigars up there, hanging out. The dude has an unbelievable car collection of classic cars. He's really into classic cars.
Wow, very accomplished.
I mean, he's got he is extremely accomplished, and they own the distillery outright. They don't have debt. There's a lot of these distilleries out there that have started up that took big loans and whatnot. I'd be really stressed right now, but they did it the right way. They grew it, and they really created something out there at Neely Family Distillery. And so, definitely check it out.
Is this the only whiskey they make? Is Hidden Bar?
No, they make moonshine still, and they make unbelievable moonshine.
Now, when you say they make moonshine, so I want you to tell everybody. When you say they make moonshine on the shelf, tell everybody what the difference between moonshine on the shelf and moonshine at home.
Well, so there's differences. Like, so if you're out in the woods and you're making moonshine, and you might make it with apples, or you might make it with what you mash. Your mash could be a lot of different things you ferment to make, right? And you're making that. Then there's the next level where they're making it at the distillery. It's still pot stilled, right? That piece, it's a pot still, right? So pot still. He's making it with the same traditions, the same yeast strand that they used.
Can that still be called moonshine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't moonshine have to be made in the woods?
No. I mean, you could call White Lightning right off the still. It's really moonshine. Right?
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
But like if some of the best is right. Some of the best still is right. I mean, God, man, if you try some of that, and it usually comes in a little. Mason jar.
My buddy brought some up from St. Louis. Man. It was he brought up an apple pie and he brought up a strawberry.
And when they say apple pie and strawberry, it's not like they have apple pies. It just fucking tastes like that, and it's just how they distilled it.
This one had strawberries in it.
Yep.
And I ate a strawberry. I was done.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I made the mistake.
The next level that I think we would say of the moonshine that maybe you see on the shelf that's highly produced or whatever. There's some artificial coloring, flavoring, things that are going into those.
But isn't moonshine theoretically uncut? Like, isn't that kind of where
it's usually?
Like, I know it's cut a little bit. Like you watch some of the stuff they cut, but is it like moonshine's just typically straight heat off the distill, right?
Well, you still got to cut it because you don't want to die. So if you got to cut the heads and the you're cutting the heads and the tails, 40, right?
You're not necessarily like chemistry wise.
No, you're not. You're talking about you're not like watering it down. Prove it. No, you're not. No, typically you won't prove it. One of the most impressive things that I've seen some moonshiners do is they can tell the proof of the moonshine by shaking a bottle and seeing the bubble size and how long they last, and they can get it to almost exactly. It's fucking impressive.
Popcorn Sutton, right here.
Oh,
literally,
yeah, there you go, man.
Popcorn Sutton and then the old Jim guy on Moonshine. Probably the
Jim
only
Bray
two. Probably the only two real people on that show, in my opinion. But Popcorn was 100% real, and you would see him shake it, and he'd go, it's about 160 proof, and he'd get it right on.
Fuck yeah, that dude was a master, right? And some of his moonshine, I mean, I think they found some of it that was stashed or something like that, and that just, those guys, they knew what they were doing. It was their craft, right? It was their life. It was their craft. and they still do it today, like I said, and it is impressive what they are able to do with a copper pot out in the fucking woods with a water source and a mash that they got from whatever, like whatever they're using to ferment. It is impressive, and you know, Royce is when you get Royce on, and I talked about when he comes out, you know, to get on here. Um, you're gonna want to talk to him more in depth because I don't want to do it injustice because I'm not as educated and knowledgeable on all the history of moonshine and the processes and all of that, but he is, and he will tell you one of the things that Royce does with Hidden Barn and with his whiskey that's really cool and unique is the yeast. And we didn't talk really about yeast, but yeast can impact the fermentation process and the flavor profile too.
Strains of yeast.
So Royce goes back into Appalachian to the woods where they used to make their moonshine in that location, and he'll hang buckets up and he'll catch wild yeast from that same area because wild yeast plays a part in moonshining, right? Where you're at, there's yeast there's things all around us, right? That has natural wild yeast. He will catch that yeast and then cultivate it, bring it back, and that is used in our product because
we got to back up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. This is something I've never heard before. So
yeah, it's unique.
So what does he hang a bucket on a tree?
Yes.
Like
yes, and he catches
and then,
it.
What does he shake plants around it to get the yeast to fall?
No,
or like
it collects. I don't honestly. I don't really.
Like how long
I've never done
there?
it. I said I want to go with him one time. You got to be careful walking around back there. And
really?
Oh yeah, because you never know what you're going to walk into. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you really got to be careful, right? But
what holler you might.
You don't want to walk into the wrong. I mean, you won't leave, right?
No,
yeah. I'm not even. That's not a joke.
Turn the corner, you're at House of 1,000 Corpses.
Yeah. I mean, like people are protective there, right? And so. But yeah, and he will explain the process, how it is done. But yeast, yeah, it's in the air, right? So
before.
and it can collect, and so that's the other thing when you're distilling at a distillery, you're trying to prevent you're gonna get natural yeast in the mash, right? If you have open fermenters, but some of them have closed fermenters. They're trying to prevent and keep that controlled. We at Neely, it's open cypress fermenters. So not only we do have the yeast that he's bringing from where they used to distill, he has his own yeast, and then there's also the natural yeast at the distillery it's going to be in the whiskey. It's going to get in that fermentation process. Wow. But some brands, like they buy their yeast, right, and it's from a specific place that makes great yeast, and they use the same yeast. This bag of yeast is what they use. And others have a jug. Like if you ever hear of a yeast jug, the master distiller used to carry that home with them at night, put it down in a well.
Like a sourdough master.
That was the life bread of that brand, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the flavor profile. That was the yeast that they used to cultivate and ferment. So, so we got.
Yeah, I didn't realize that yeast was that airborne.
Yeah, that's right, Brent. Yep.
I had no idea. I had no idea that yeast was that prevalently airborne to where you can catch it because everyone always thinks of yeast. The instant yeast I make bread with, but that's not. Even though that's what they show at Moonshiners, they rip open and use. That's not.
They do have that.
You could use it, but it's not the quality that you would want.
I mean,
there's different levels.
There's
of quality
different
of brewers.
Yes, and
so on and so forth.
And there's actual companies that make it, and they make specific profiles that you can say, I kind of want this profile of yeast,
because
you can buy it. Yeah, you can buy it. Yeah, you can buy it, right?
Yeah.
And then you cultivate it and you grow it, and that's what you use, and it doesn't take much. You got a big thing of mash. You put a little bit in there, and it just go to work, man. It is fun to watch. That's why if you ever have a chance to go to a distillery and you see one of the fermenters and you can tell like 1, 2, 3 days of fermentation. Some ferment for 5 days, 3 days, but you see the popping and you see it eating those sugars and going to work and fermenting that. It's a fun process. You can taste it. It's kind of cool, different stages of it, and then it kind of gets all crusty when it's kind of ready, and then that's when you start to distill it.
Now, sugar content obviously creates the alcohol, or I should say, it's one of the feeding foods yeast uses for the byproduct of alcohol that they create. But you can't just throw a fuck ton of sugar in something with some yeast. And like you always see people do the whole like, oh, I'm gonna go get some Mott's grape juice and throw some yeast in it, throw a bag over it, and I'll make wine. But like it's a lot more. And you can't just.
I mean, you can ferment. I guess you could ferment some stuff like
That's what
that.
I mean.
But,
You're
not. I don't know
the
about
best.
hooch. I guess is what you call that,
Correct,
like jail
yeah.
hooch. Like you do it with orange peels or some shit like that.
But like it requires more than just sugar. It's the corn into that. So really quickly, kind of explain how the corn complements the sugar and like why can't it just all be sugar? Because sugar's the one that makes sugar's the part of it that makes the alcohol, and sugar's 50-pound bag that's in there. There's a 100-pound bag of corn maybe.
Right.
But why the corn and the sugar blend? Like, what's the purpose behind
first off,
that?
you're not putting any sugar in the bourbon. So in that mash bill, you're not putting sugar. You're putting the corn is where you're getting that sweet, and you're getting the sugars out of the grain. So so you wouldn't add sugar into it. Maybe they do.
I only mentioned
moonshine. Maybe
I correct myself. Yeah. I only mentioned sugar because everybody, when you hear alcohol is made from sugar, but whiskey's doesn't have sugar in it. It's
grains, like corn has a lot of it, right? So like that is why it is such a great.
You're not using sweet corn, are you?
You can.
You can. Okay.
You can use red corn. I mean, they're heirloom corn. That's another thing. That's another level of whiskey is what type of corn you use, where it comes from.
So go into that a little bit.
Well, I'm not a total expert on that, so I don't want to overspeak on some of it. But where you get your grains from, whether it's just like here's the thing. Here's how I would compare it to the cigar world. Where certain tobacco plants grow, probably produce different types of flavor and tobacco, and how the soil is, like the soil and what you use and how often you farm it or whatever. Well, it's the same thing with the grains, right? With corn and rye and some of these things. So it is important where you see now one of the popular things you're starting to see is grain to glass, where distilleries select certain farms and certain farmers that they take that grain and that's what they're using only. Mm-hmm. They're not mixing it.
Farm to table concept.
Yeah. When you're getting huge, you're having it like your Jack Daniels. You're taking corn from
everyone,
fucking all over the place, right? And what you're doing is making sure there's no diesel in the corn, right? When it's coming, and like you get the diesel in it or mold. That's another big problem that you can have is mold. But corn really does a good job breaking down in that fermentation and releasing those sugars that the yeast feed on and create that. And different grains, and I don't want to overspeak on this. This is a great question for a master distiller like Royce or anybody that distills, how that actually works and how different grains kind of interact. Sometimes it takes, I think rye is a more delicate grain. So even when you're cooking it, that's the other thing about, we didn't even talk about that, but when these grains are coming in, they're cooking these grains, they're hammer melting these grains first. So they're
when you say cooking, explain.
So boiling? Yeah. So it's like steaming, or I don't know. Again, like I don't know the exact process that Royce does. It's probably different at different ones. But
they're not like toasting.
No, not like not popcorn. They turn into fucking popcorn, dude. And then you have popcorn whiskey, I guess.
Well, I was talking about the rye, as far as the rye is concerned.
But the temperature, I believe, on rye has to be lower because it's more delicate. Where corn is a very hardy grain, and it can take a lot more abuse and heat and some of that. So. Again, something that definitely get Royce on to talk about and go through that process. But it is there's so many wormhole and rabbit holes with distilling that is so crazy and variables that I won't do it justice talking about. But you're taking the corn in, you're hammer milling it, you're grinding it down, right? You're
So again, that's a fallacy. That go ahead, light your cigar.
Yeah.
I'll talk for a second. So that's a fallacy again that you see. Then maybe you don't have to do that, but like when you watch moonshiners, again, you're just watching them pour. And I bring up the show Moonshiners because that's the reality. That's really the only reality show.
That's what you see on TV, where you see him making whiskey.
But that's not the real process, and that's really important for people to understand. That's not
a legitimate
process.
It's a process, but
it's a lazy process to how you watch them do it. The real guys, the 11th generation like Royce, they would take the time to mill it, if it was their great grandfather and probably do it the right way and be a process.
It may.
and
I
so on
mean,
and so forth.
moonshine is different, right? So it's a really raw production process. I
But
think.
it's only different because it's not barrel aged, right?
I mean, you use a lot of different things
But
that you
can
ferment,
do
right?
51% corn.
You could absolutely,
but not
you could do a
barrel-aged.
corn whiskey, right?
That's what I
Corn
mean.
shine, yeah, 100%
And
corn.
so the only difference is
Yeah.
unbarrel aged, more or less.
Pretty much. I mean, I think that
Which tastes completely different.
yeah.
Completely different.
I mean, again, another question for a master distiller or someone like Royce is like how he could tell you the difference, like in detail, of a column still, a pot still, a smaller still versus a larger still. You know, a doubler, like all these things that are used, different. Like if you go to a lot of different distilleries, I hardly ever see one still that's the same. Sometimes there's like a Frankenstein mix where it's like a pot still with a column still. Royce is just getting a 3-chamber still in, which is really kind of fun and unique. They haven't had those around for a long time. There's a brand in Colorado that has a 3-chamber still that they've been messing with, but he's putting that in too. So that's going to create a different profile in itself. So
3-chamber it's 3 levels of distillery.
I think it's
distilling,
3.
right?
I don't know a whole lot about it. He showed me the charts and graphs and explained it to me, and I was drinking too much when we went through it, but it's 3. I think it's 3 different chambers, and each one kind of does its own
Different
thing.
level of
And
distilling.
yeah, I do no justice to this.
This is why I'm enjoying having Nate on, because I like the fact that
Yeah.
you say I don't know.
No, I'm not an expert.
I would rather
yeah.
have you say
Yeah.
I don't know than
Oh, I'm
throw
not
shit
gonna-
at
I
a
don't
wall
wanna-
and hope it sticks.
I don't want false shit out there. Like, here's the thing: there's already too much bullshit and false stuff out there, right? So, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's okay not to know, and I've accepted the fact that I will not be an expert in this, and I do know a lot, and I've done a lot, and I've tasted a lot, and I'm still not even close to an expert. And Royce will probably say he's not an expert. He's definitely extremely smart and knows a lot. And you talk to Jimmy Russell at Wild Turkey, or you talk to Connor O'Driscoll at Heaven Hell, or Denny Potter, or you talk to Dan McKee at Michter's, or some of these places, like, you know, they all have a skill set and that they're very good at, and a way of doing things, and it's not always the same either. So it's not always different brands sometimes have different beliefs on what makes the best whiskey too.
So here in closing on the show, I always kind of do like a few little lightning round questions.
Oh, okay.
What was the whiskey that made you fall in love with whiskey?
Oh, that's a good question. I do get asked that sometimes. Four Roses.
Okay.
Four Roses got
How
me
old were
back
you?
into bourbon. Well, now, like, let's look at it in different time. In college, I drank Evan Williams Black Label and Jim Beam White Label, right? And I couldn't tell you that. I just knew it was bourbon. It was cheaper, and I could afford it.
You were
And-
drinking for fun.
Yeah, we were having fun, right? I wasn't like I didn't have a Glencairn. Probably had a red Dixie cup and probably Coca-Cola, right? There's no question. And again, that's another point I want to bring out. Don't ever let anybody tell you how to drink your whiskey.
Never.
Don't
Drink it
fucking
how
let
you
them
want.
tell you drink it.
Drink
If
it
you
how
want,
you
if you want to drink Hidden Barn with Coca-Cola, have at it. Enjoy that shit. Just drink it. If you want to put water in it, you want to put ice in it, you want to drink it neat. There's no wrong way to drink whiskey. So, and I think that that's one thing that you hear people like that get kind of snobby, like you only drink it neat, or you only drink that's bullshit. You drink it to enjoy and what tastes good for you and what you enjoy. But and I went on that rant. What were we talking about?
You said Four Roses. I was asking.
So I'd say when I got into my late 20s again, there was a period when I talked to you. I was bouncing. I was running the door at nightclubs. I was always kind of in the industry on the side. I kind of moonlighted in it and worked another career.
UFC fighter right here.
No UFC. I'm not a UFC. I just I was the pretty face of the door, and then when shit went down, I was like, "Hey, dude, can you like maybe handle this? Because this dude is out of control, and I don't want to get my ass kicked." So, I got back into Scotch, and there's a Edwards Pipe and Tobacco. Downtown
Terry.
Inglewood,
Love Nick.
and before that, we're talking back in the day. It was, I mean, years ago. I would go there on Friday nights. They have a little back room. They'd have guys, the same crew. They'd be smoking pipes, cigars, and they'd always have scotch. And so I started drinking scotch again. We started bringing bottles in. And I started then at that point started saying, you know what, I start drinking some American whiskey and started getting into that. And I started bringing bourbon in. Well, these guys are 80-year-old guys that were hardcore Scotch. That's what they drink. They have their brands, they have their label, and I understand that, respect that. You got that in the bourbon world too, where there's people that this is the only brand I drink, the only label I drink. Well, I started bringing bourbon in as trying to get them to taste some of that and some of the American whiskey, and they started to try it, and that's kind of where 5280 grew out of eventually.
Makes sense.
And because we started having more and more people show up there on Friday night, where it was a social connection, we were smoking, I was learning how to smoke a pipe and some of those things, and then we'd always have a bottle share, and everybody would kind of enjoy it and get to try something new, which eventually developed into bringing people together in large amounts of people, because we saw that there was a lot of people that want. Well, eventually, we didn't have enough room in there. There were so many people in there to drink and do this experience. So that's where. And Four Roses to me it's a great brand. If you look at the history of it, Jim Rutledge brought that brand back from the dead. It was a brand that was around, that was very popular, and then whiskey went through a phase in like the 60s, 70s where like brown spirits were not popular anymore. It was the martini and the light spirits and gin, and those were what people were drinking, and that was the sexy thing to drink. And so they kind of had this thing where whiskey kind of was more bottom shelf and became like blends, and Four Roses had Seagrams that owned it. It became like a blended in the United States. Elsewhere, it was still very good out of the United States, but Jim Rutledge brought that brand back from the dead and created what Four Roses is in today, and Brent Elliott now, who's continued that on as the master distiller. Both great people in whiskey. I would say that I really kind of fell in love with Four Roses first. It was the most expensive bottle I ever bought, because back then I think it was, I want to say $40 or something like that. And I was like, holy shit, like that's a lot.
What year was this?
Oh, it's been like early 2000s maybe.
$40 was a lot.
There was a lot back then for a bottle of whiskey, because you could get Grey Goose for 24, 25, and that was like the fancy shit, right?
100%.
And I remember my wife is like, what the fuck are you spending money on? I said, well, I want to try this. And they used to have the yellow label. It was a little cheaper, but they had a single barrel product, and I tried it. It was unbelievable quality, and I fell in love with it. And then from there, I started to taste different brands. I love Heaven Hell. Heaven Hell products are some of my favorite products. Elijah Craig, I think, is a fantastic product. It's a great value product out there. And so, those are probably the two that started me. And then it just expanded from there. And, now there's so many brands that I've tasted and enjoy.
What's your white whale bottle you've owned?
Well, it's not going to be the same reason as maybe other people, right?
No, yeah, that's what I said. What's your white whale?
I will say there's a gentleman. His name was Al Young.
Real quick, for those of you that don't understand what I mean by white whale, it's literally the Moby Dick reference. It's the biggest thing that he's been after for a long time. So that's what I'm
after, and the most valued in my collection, probably, that I've drank.
Personal, not dollar.
Personal, yeah, because there's stuff out there that you can spend thousands of dollars on now in this day and age.
Hey, cubbies.
Yeah, but with this, there was a gentleman named Al Young, rest in peace. He had shown up to Four Roses on a motorcycle one day and was looking for work, and said, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll this is 55 years ago, right? And said maybe I'll start there, and ended up becoming the ambassador of Four Roses. Just a fantastic gentleman, just an unbelievable Kentucky gentleman that loved whiskey, promoted it, did everything the right way. And so they honored him for his 50th anniversary with Al Young 50th anniversary Four Roses. If you ever see this bottle, you're not going to probably see it, honestly, but if you ever do, just send it to me, because it is incredible. It's an incredible whiskey. It's blended with some of the last of Jim Rutledge's distillate, as Brent Elliott, I think, was coming on at that time too, and was putting it together. But man, it is an incredible whiskey, and because of the going out there and meeting,
hey, Mort,
you can meet maybe some people like rock stars, movie stars. They meet them and they get all giddy and stuff. That's not really me. But I went to a restaurant. We were doing a private barrel pick at Four Roses, and he was there at the restaurant to meet me and to meet the group I was with. And I almost couldn't speak. I was like, holy shit, this is Al Young. Like the history, the guys, the people that this guy knows, who he's been around in this industry and what he's done. And so that relationship became special. And then when he passed on, so I've owned 3 bottles of it. And to get those 3 bottles was no easy task. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story that'll probably get me in trouble, but I don't work there anymore. So I was in a meeting at one of my old jobs, and it was an important meeting. We're in there, and I see something come up on my phone that it was on Facebook. I was fucking around and scrolling, and it said it was a small store in Tennessee, and a small liquor store in Tennessee, and it says, "Hey, we have Al Young for sale." I got up out of that thing. I went out into the hallway. I called this store, a small mom and pop store in eastern Tennessee. I said, "Hey, do you have that Al Young?" And they said, "Yes, we do. We have a couple bottles." And I said, "Hey, I'll tell you what. I'm not there right now, but could I buy it over the phone, and then I'll come and pick it up from y'all?" And they're like, "Yeah, that doesn't seem to be a problem. We can put it in the office if you want." And I'm like, "Sounds great." So I paid for it, got 2 bottles. I called my good buddy with Dad's Drinking Bourbon, a guy that does a podcast, a whiskey podcast in Tennessee. And I said, "Look, dude," I said, "if you," he was in Nashville. I said, if you drive out and get this bottle," it was about a 3-hour drive. I said, "If you drive out to this shop, you can have one of the bottles and then send me the other bottle." And he did. And so that's how I got that bottle. And man, it was everything worth every penny. I was going to fly out there if he wasn't.
You
so
keep the empty?
I do have the empties.
You do have the empties.
I do have the empties, yeah. And I'll always have that.
What's the most expensive bottle you've ever spent money on?
I don't. Well, I'm not a big. It's tough for me to spend a lot of money on whiskey. There's a lot of whiskey that I get, and I get experience and taste. But I will say that there is a bottle that, if available, I'll throw down $1,000 on it, and that would be Michter's 20-year. Any of the Michter's 20-year release. It's a rare release. They only do about 700 bottles a year. Well, it's $1,000 retail if you can find it. On secondary, it's $5,000, and you really can't find it retail. And it is it's a very delicious whiskey. That is one definitely that I would do. But most whiskey, you know what? You can find a great bottle of whiskey for $40.
And
$30 nowadays. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Again, that correlates so much with the cigar world. You could buy a Gurkha $1,500 cigar in a glass tube if you want.
Yeah.
Is that better than a $30 cigar or a $20 cigar? I don't know. I've never had a $1,500 cigar, but I can tell you I've had several $100 cigars.
Yeah.
I've had several Cubans, and I would put a $20 cigar, any cigar in my humidor, against any $100 cigar.
I think that's another great comparison where the worlds cross, because if I put a $1,000 bottle of whiskey, a $500 bottle of whiskey, a $200 bottle of whiskey, maybe Pappy Van Winkle. That's another one that people think is this great. It's a wheated bourbon, right? And the Stitzel Weller form of that back in the day was unbelievable. It tastes like cotton candy. It's not the same distillate now, but it's at Buffalo Trace, one of their products. And I could put a couple $40 on there, and I do it to you blind. You might pick the $40 as what hits your profile best. And that's the thing with cigars too, because I did buy that's probably the most I spent on a cigar was a Fuente, some kind of limited edition. I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, Opus, like one of the Opus releases, and it was good, but I'm not good enough to be able to say, "Oh man,
this is what I pick out." But
this is it." Yeah, but I enjoyed it. But could I enjoy it with? And I always say this name wrong. You'll probably your fans.
I say every name wrong.
Oliva.
You said it right.
Okay, Oliva V's. Like I love the Lancero V's. Like,
you are a man after my heart.
I fucking crush Lanceros, and I love that fucking cigar.
Yes!
And
yeah, we got another Lancero person here, guys.
They're the best. Lanceros are the best. And there's the I see someone posted that with Al Young. Yeah, check it out. Read that dude's story. He's an unbelievable guy, and talks about that. Maybe if you want to be really crazy, look up secondary on it. Look on the type in Al Young 50th anniversary and see what the prices they have that on now on where they probably have some bottles on secondary market that you can buy probably for about $1,500, $2,000 is my guess.
So then you kind of, I think, answered my question a little bit, but I'm gonna ask it anyways.
Yeah.
Where in your opinion is the law of diminishing returns in pricing in whiskey? Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you're starting to see that now. I think you're starting to see a market correction a little bit where there's some whiskey out there. Just because it's $250 doesn't mean it's better than $40 whiskey. And I think that's where you have to do the investigative work and find out. Like, there's some brands that are labeled and it's MGP or it's sourced whiskey, and then $1,700 on sale. It's on sale for $1,700. All right. If you want to do a GoFundMe page, Richard, for us, I'll share that bottle with you, man. Let's see.
Yes, Brent. We became brothers now that he's a fellow land. I'm a Lancero whore.
Oh, hey. Okay. I don't know
the number one question I ask everybody that comes out is, "What are you putting out a Lancero?"
I just think it's a great smoke. Like, I just enjoy
it. If I had known that, I'd have given you a Lancero.
Oh, no. I just think it's a great smoke. So I'll try different ones, and that's something I always look for. I see Jason. So Jason Chan on there. Yeah. Jason, did you meet Al Young too? I want to say you did. I know Ty was on here before. He might have, but he's definitely tried Al Young. I know that because that's the other thing is I open and share my bottles. I'm not one of these people that, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to have a collection of 1,000 bottles on a shelf, and that's your thing, and it is a commodity, and realistically, like, it has value and it gains in value, some of it. But I open and share everything that I have because I think that's what it's made for. And believe me, they're not going to run out of whiskey. I've seen the rick houses. So there's always going to be whiskey. And there's a guy, Freddie Johnson, who is with Buffalo Trace, that tells a great story. He, a third generation, worked at Buffalo Trace, and his grandfather's father and him. And he's an unbelievable human being. And he tells a story where they gifted him a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. He had been there forever. And the people that work at the distilleries don't get the high allocated stuff. They sell that. They move that, right?
Yeah,
you don't get it there just because you work there. And they gifted him one for his service. And he was holding on to it. And his dad was like, his dad and his brother, I think, were there. And he said, hey, he's like, why don't we open that and drink? He's like, oh, this is a special bottle of whiskey. Like, it's very rare. We can't open it. His dad's like, what's it for? It's like let's open it and share it and have a moment.
Yes.
He opened it and shared it with his, this always gets my heart. He opened it and shared it with his father and brother, and they drank that bottle together. And then his brother and father both passed away in the next 6 months.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that memory, he tells that he still remembers the great time they had telling stories and hanging out and drinking that bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. So that's why I say, open that shit, share it.
It's made to be drank.
It's made to be drank. Made to be. Let's hit him bar and
keep
statement.
The bottle.
Made to be poured.
Yeah. Keep the bottle
and keep the bottle, right? But open it and share it, and that's a great example of why that's important.
You know, one of I've had the privilege of knowing some very wealthy people in my life and have some very wealthy mentors, and I became very close with a CFO at a company, and he's one of my mentors and in many different ways. I've told the story. He actually sent me a $50,000-$60,000 bill because I didn't take his advice for several years, and he said that those people that don't listen to me pay me. He goes, if you don't want to listen to the advice I give, then you can pay me for my time.
I love that.
So that taught me a really valuable lesson. But he's also had almost or a little over a 6-figure bourbon Scotch collection.
Okay.
And I had called him, and I'm like, I bought a bottle of 21 Glenlivet.
Yeah.
I'm like, he goes, will you drink that? And he goes, you call me after you crack it. So I drank like half the bottle with a buddy. I shared it. $172. The most expensive bottle I ever bought.
There's a lot for a bottle of spirits, right?
And so I call him. So we start talking. He goes, first of all, how much was it? And I told him. He goes, that wouldn't even hit my collection. He goes, the cheapest bottle of my collection is about $1,500.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. He goes, why did you like it? I'm like, well, it was this, it was peaty, it was awesome, it was this.
Yeah.
He goes, you described every single fucking bottle out there. Why did you like it?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, now you've got me confused. I don't know. He goes, I don't know why I like any of the ones I have either, other than the fact that other people wanted them and I bought them first.
Yeah.
He goes, they're just as good. He's like, I'm telling you this so you don't go down a rabbit hole like I did and get into crazy collecting.
Yeah.
Because a $40 bottle is equivalent to $1,000 bottle. I only own what I own because other people also wanted it.
Yeah.
And I bought it.
And I can give you a fact. An open bottle of whiskey tastes a lot better than an unopened bottle.
Which way? Well, no, okay. So
you know what I'm saying?
That.
Like, what I mean by that is you can have a pretty bottle up on a shelf, but
you don't know what it tastes
like. You know what the fuck it tastes like. Like, who knows? So I definitely know what an open bottle of whiskey tastes like. So I see that Wild Turkey. That's awesome, man. Single barrel. That's awesome, man. And don't wait too long. You know what I'm saying? Like, find that because there's whiskey out there, and there's going to be a lot of yeah, I agree, Jason. It definitely and Jason's a member of 5280 Whiskey Society right there. Him and his wife, and they've been good members, OG members, and he knows that, and I know he shares a lot of whiskey too with people and has people over. That's the other cool thing about 5280 Whiskey Society. We have about 300 members. We cap it at that. But they're also in their neighborhoods. They're kind of the expert, right, in whiskey. So they're the ones that are sharing their whiskey with their neighbors and talking about it and teaching that. And that's how you grow the brands and grow whiskey in general. So, but Jason does that with his friends and neighbors too as well.
So here, I got two more questions to ask you. One is any historical figure outside of Jesus.
Okay.
Any figure, period. Doesn't have to be known historical figure, anything. Who would you bring a bottle of Hidden Barn to drink with? And why would you bring that bottle?
Yeah, I wouldn't need to bring one to Jesus because he could just make it right out of water. So what? Right? But
no point.
Yeah, no. So, but let's say
talk about the angel share. He's got every angel share possible. He's got the ultimate.
He just sells some real good shit.
He's been stealing a lot.
That's where it's going. That's where it's going. I don't know. That's a good question. You know what? Off the top of my head, I'm gonna put something out. Man. Maybe Winston Churchill.
Okay.
You know, like a historical figure like that, and you know, someone that drank whiskey, smoked cigars, like someone that would enjoy it. I mean, that might be someone fun to share.
Who's a master blender or master distiller you would drink with if no longer with us?
Oh, I've been very fortunate to drink a lot of whiskey with a lot of master distillers that are still with us. One that is not with us. Who would I?
Would you go back to the original founders of like Jack and go back to see what that was like versus now?
I mean, Jack Daniels was an interesting character. That's for sure. That guy. I mean, he killed him. He died because he kicked his safe because he couldn't open it, and caused like gangrene on his septic, and he ended up dying from it, which is crazy. But man, that's a really good question. I don't know who that would be. Maybe Parker Beam, maybe Parker Beam from Heaven Hold. Well, Parker Beam passed away of ALS.
That's a long time ago.
It was a few years back, right? I mean, it was like I don't know, maybe it wasn't that long ago, but it was a while back.
Different.
Yeah, but Parker Beam, master distiller at Heaven Hell. We do a charity event for in recognition of Parker Beam. It was I never got to meet him, but I know people that knew him that said he was just a stand-up, outstanding individual. I think that would be a great person to have a pour with if I was going to have something that had meaning to me. I love Heaven Hell, and we do a charity event every year for ALS too to raise funds for that with Heaven Hell. We partner with them, so that might be one of the ones out there that I would like to have a pour with.
Now, I stole this question from James Lipton on Inside the Actor Studio, but
Okay.
I love the introspectiveness of the question. If you were to meet your creator someday at the pearly gates,
Yeah.
what do you want to hear?
Welcome.
That's totally
I don't want
fine.
to say.
No.
I don't want to see him go like this. Psych. I will be like, psych, dude. You fucked up. See you later. Yeah, I hope he says welcome. That'd be great.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's probably what I was saying.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for
Yeah.
spending the night with me down here in studio.
Yeah,
of
it's
all
fantastic,
things,
man.
and you are
Great studio, man. Thank you for having me.
you
Honored to
are
be here.
always welcome to pop in
Thank you.
and come down here and sit in any show you want. And I'm really honored that we were able to make the connection we did, and
Yeah.
now you see value in the show and you want to promote and support and be a partner of it. So that really means the world to me.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, first person watching this show, I'll give a week by next Thursday. First person watching the show that DMs me with a picture of Hidden Barn, doesn't matter what it is,
Okay.
I will give a 5-pack of Micallef A's
Wow.
to them. So
Awesome.
go online, find a bottle, do yourself a favor, find as many bottles as you can, because this is incredible. Find a bottle, DM me, and don't post it on the show. First person to do that, I will send out a 5-pack of Micallef A's. And yes, so let's show some
let's
love.
get him a Hidden Barn hat too.
Okay, so
Yeah,
first person
yeah.
that DMs me with a bottle of Hidden Barn.
Yeah.
Now, it can't be half empty. It can't be in your collection already. You gotta go out, find it, buy it, show it to me. You'll get a Hidden Barn hat and a 5-pack of Micallef A's. So
Awesome.
definitely do yourself a favor and find it. Let's go out and let's support this this incredible company. I like the smaller companies.
Yeah.
There's more heart in it.
There's heart and soul in it.
There's much more
Yeah.
heart in it. I compare it
Yeah.
the same as like boutique cigars or college sports to NFL.
Yeah.
Some people like the college because they actually play because they want to.
Yeah.
They love it. And
Yeah.
I consider that
For the
in
love of the
boutique
game.
world.
What a great
Correct.
for the love of the
Absolutely.
game. Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So that's an open thing. Anybody for the next week, the first person that sends me a picture, we will give away a Hidden Barn hat. I don't even have a Hidden Barn hat.
I'll get you a
So
Hidden Barn.
we'll get you a Hidden Barn hat,
Just 6 years.
and we'll get you a 5-pack of Micallef A's to go along with your Hidden Barn, because Micallef A is such a great. I'll give you one before you leave.
Oh, thank you.
It's
Yes.
a fantastic cigar, and it really is a nice medium-bodied, full flavor that would absolutely complement probably anything in your line outside of a rye. I wouldn't smoke it with a rye,
Okay.
but just about anything else I would. So let's see those pictures and let's support the company, everybody. And thank you so much for being in
Hey,
studio.
I wanted to say
go ahead.
It's been an honor to be here with you. Thank you for sharing this experience with me, and also everybody that's been commenting on here. I appreciate your guys' interest, and thanks for being here and some of the comments. And like I said, open and share it with a cigar, share it with friends, family. That's what it's about, fellowship. And I always lean on that's where you create friendships, relationships, usually over cigar whiskey. So
Absolutely. How'd you like the Stillwell for your first one?
I thought it was fantastic, man.
It's a great
I know I was
cigar.
talking too much. I had to light it.
No,
I don't know if that's
no,
a bad
it's
thing.
fine.
Etiquette wise, I was like, I had to light it a few times, but I love it. It's great.
Smoke it how you want. And until we see you all again, smoke what you like, drink as much fucking Hidden Barn as you can, responsibly,
Yes.
and have
Always
a great rest of your week.